week. We have another student here to read our land acknowledgement. It's Hazel Smith. She's a fifth grader from Sakai Intermediate School. So welcome, Hazel.
Soil is scarce in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hollowed by something sad or happy event in the days long vanished. Chief Seattle, 1854. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Suquamish people of the clear salt water. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers, the Suquamish lived in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Suquamish live and protect the land and water of their ancestors for future generations as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855.
Thank you so much. And please come forward and council members, I'd love all of you to come down and join us. Good evening, Bainbridge. Thanks to Hazel Smith for their contribution to reading these your work is about time, complex, and continue president. Thank you. You keep your books up. Thank you. Thank you, Hazel. That was really lovely. And what I love about this is it's bringing people into our living room, your living room or city hall. And this is a place that isn't scary. You should be coming here. And so I'm glad you are. And thank you so much. And then say hi everybody at Sakai Intermediate School for us. All right. Agenda's before us. I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I second.
Moved by Councilmember Nelson, seconded by Councilmember Farrell Johnson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The vote is 6-0. Chair votes aye, 7-0. Any conflicts of interest to discuss tonight or disclose? We could discuss it, but all right. Okay, thank you very much. I would like to open it up for public comment. Sign in the sheets above. Public comment is simply received by us on the council with no response, and council can deliberate on the items on our agenda. The lack of a comment from us is not an endorsement or denial of your comment. And you have 3 minutes to speak for us. Please try to keep it within that 3 minutes. And I'll do 2 names for the first person up, and the second one, please be in the warm-up batter circle. Mike Siraki and then Ann Smart. And it's got a double team there, Jackie, so you can do that together. Yeah.
Good evening, members of the City Council, staff, and any representatives that are here from the Department of Transportation. My name is Mike Sirasi. I've lived on Bainbridge Island since 1977. I'm here to speak tonight in opposition to the 305 High School Road roundabout. I've sent some letters on this just a couple of days ago to DOT reps as well as the City Council. I want to say in the beginning of my talk, or my 3 minutes, I might be a little weak because today I donated number 176 pints about 3 hours ago. So I feel a little bit tired. Thank you. My roundabout concerns are that the roundabout at High School Road and 305 is different from the other 3 roundabouts on Highway 305. And you might ask the question, well, why? And it's one simple answer: pedestrians. You don't see pedestrians on the existing roundabouts at all. The pedestrians at High School Road are accustomed to using a stoplight. They walk across when the light's green. They wait when it's red. When you put in a roundabout, you end up with a crosswalk. And as soon as you step in the crosswalk, you have right of way. That doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to stop quickly, particularly with the ferry traffic backups that we have. So my suggestion is that we consider some kind of an overhead walkway so that the pedestrians are safe. And with the existing plans that I've looked at, I did attend the open house. I spoke to each and every one of the DOT reps at that open house that evening. I got no satisfaction from the concern I have with pedestrians. So I thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you, Mike. And is it, please, no audience response, please. Just to add a point, I have 111 pints. I'm working toward I'm on away from 14 gallons.
22.
Yeah, right. Good for you. Good for you. Okay, and Ann Smart and Jackie Moon, followed by Ron Peltier.
Good evening, councilmen, members. I'm Ann Smart. I sit on the board of the Arts and Humanities Board of Directors and the Public Art Committee, and I'm the lead for the Bainbridge Creative District. And we are here to share a little bit about the Bainbridge Creative District, its history, and what we're up to at the moment. The idea of becoming a creative district began when I read about it read about this new legislation that was going to be designated by Washington State in 2017. I attended a workshop for interested individuals from all over the state of Washington, and we heard from representatives from Olympia and from Colorado, who we based our creative district legislation on. After putting together a robust group of about 30 individuals during the pandemic, we met via Zoom, and after several months, many meetings, lots of discussions about the boundaries, the district goals, and our aspirations, we were ready to apply. In 2021, we received our official creative district designation for a cultural and creative hub centered in Winslow. Officially, a creative district is a geographically defined neighborhood recognized by the State of Washington Arts Commission as a hub for arts, culture, and creative enterprise. The Bainbridge Creative District, or BCD as we refer to it, collaborates with creative businesses and cultural nonprofit organizations to cross-pollinate events, align programming calendars, increase foot traffic in downtown Winslow, and strengthen our island's cultural economy.
All right. Hello, my name's Jackie. I'm here on behalf of the Bainbridge Creative District. This year marks an exciting milestone for us as we prepare for recertification through ArtsWA, and we're looking ahead to the next 5 years of the Creative District with strong momentum. A big part of that momentum comes from our programming. In May, we present the Asian Arts and Heritage Festival, a month-long celebration that continues to grow, bringing thousands of visitors into downtown Bainbridge Island while elevating Asian and Pacific Islander artists, performers, and culture. Then, in September, we host the 3rd annual Creative Thread Festival in conjunction with the Quilt Festival. By aligning an event that already draws thousands, we're able to expand the experience, adding live demonstration, local vendors, and hands-on opportunities that highlight the depth of our creative community. Together, these events reflect the impact of the Creative District, supporting artists, strengthening local businesses, and creating a vibrant, shared experience in our downtown. We're excited about what's ahead and the role of the Creative District will continue to play in Bainbridge Island's cultural and economic vitality. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you should have all gotten a hot sheet about the Creative District. Did you see this? If you didn't, we can make sure,
Sure.
speak to Ellen and make sure that you all saw it. It explains what we're up to, the history, a little bit more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Ron Peltier, followed by Gloria Saylor.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well tonight. I want to comment on the roundabout. Speaker that got up here before me, I mentioned that he went to the workshop a couple weeks ago and he got no satisfaction. But I'm not surprised because basically it's what I refer to as a dog and pony show. And I would be surprised if any of the input or comments that that WashDOT got at that workshop will be incorporated into a roundabout. There were a lot of concerns that I heard. I expressed one you heard from that gentleman about having a separated grade for pedestrians and bikes, which I think would be an opportunity to do that. They were totally not open to that. So anyhow, a few years ago, we had a group called the 305 Working Group, and we had 3 council members who were on that. And some of you, maybe Leslie, you were on that. And I don't know if anybody else was, but that was part of the planning. That group was involved with WashDOT, Paulsbo, the county, and the tribe, Squamish tribe, to plan for how to use the $36 million that was allocated by the legislature for improvements on 305. And that's what resulted in the roundabouts that got built. There was an extensive process and involvement by Bainbridge Island in how that was done. A couple of years ago, word came out that the DOT had decided that they're going to do a roundabout at High School Road and 305. And it seems like there was absolutely no input or consultations with the city. I'd like to encourage you to push back against that. And I've heard it said in the last couple of years that we have no say in it. We can't do anything. I don't believe that. I think that you can stand up and let WashDOT know that you have concerns if you do. I don't know what a majority of the council, how you feel about it. I doubt that you've got any glowing reviews from citizens about, oh, great, we love this roundabout. I'd be surprised you got any of those. And you probably got a lot of comments that weren't so glowing. So I just want to encourage you. I think if you push back a little bit and say, wait a minute, you need to work with us. You don't need to just dictate to us. You need to work with us. I think you'll get a lot of support from the community. So that's all I have. Thank you and have a good meeting.
Thank you, Ron. Gloria, and then John Quitzlin.
Gloria Saylor, Wyatt Way, Bainbridge Island. Used to be from the North End, so I feel like all of you are my council members. I am here to speak about the roundabout since the WashDOT people are here, and it's another opportunity to express my dismay at the cost, the lack of attention to planning involving the community and their concerns until it was too late and WashDOT already had their plan. And because I echo the concerns of the 2 previous speakers about the roundabout, about pedestrians and cyclists, because I go through there frequently and see that there and at the Winslow Way crossing for the ferry, crossing of 305, that it's difficult for people who are older like me, and I use a cane at times, to get across that in the time allowed. And now if there's not even going to be a stoplight there, I feel like pedestrians and cyclists will be at great risk. And now that I live down here, I don't have the privilege of driving all the way down the island to get on the ferry. Now I get to do it onto High School Road because that's the closest space. When this roundabout goes in, the dominating traffic is going to be from north to south. And I'm wondering, where will I have to go in order to get onto the ferry? Because there is nothing that allows for people from the east or the west to get on to 305 at High School Road. There's not going to be any red light. There's not going to be, that I see, any trigger that, oh, there are cars backing up on High School Road on either side. We need to find some way to get them on to 305 to the ferry. So I am really concerned about the design. As a social worker, the cost of this infuriates me, that we're cutting $29 million from public health funding and the number of lives that will be lost to that we're in a budget crunch and we need money for childcare, et cetera. And they say this money can't be used for anything other than safety. And that just seems wrong to me, that when we're in a budget crunch, that they can still say, oh, well, it's going to cost $4 million to do this. And we don't know when that figure was made when it was estimated. If it was 5 years ago, my guess it's at least double that by now. And I don't see it really providing without, there are other amendments that I think could be made to 305 that would yield the result that they say they're looking for, which is fewer accidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. And John Quitzlin?
Good evening, council members and city staff. I'm speaking with reference to the council's review and approval of the recruitment brochure prepared by the Raftelis search firm to identify applicants for our city manager position. I want to thank all of those city council members and others in our community who contributed to the preparation of this brochure. I'm impressed by the design and content of the brochure. I look forward to some discussion of the process by which the content was developed and assembled. The only portion of the brochure that disappoints me is the next to last page describing the community. This page begins with an emphasis on our proximity to Seattle and mentions that many islanders commute to the greater Seattle region. Nothing is said of the ways we depend upon Kitsap County, and many on the peninsula depend upon us with our connection across the Agate Passage. With the addition of some demographic information about the island's population and its workforce, this description of our community's character would be more congruent with the excellent account of the city's priorities that is placed up front in the brochure. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And before we ask about online, if there's anyone in the audience today who would like to speak up but did not sign up, you're free to come forward.
Hi, my name is Colleen Smith. I'm Hazel's mom.
Mhm.
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, so I apologize for not having a polished, well thought out comment. I would like to express some concern and thought around the roundabout myself. My husband last summer had a tremendous medical crisis, and it's just brought my attention to how the ambulances and the fire department utilizes that thoroughfare to get onto the ferry when there is a medical emergency. I've been on the ferry recently, and oh my gosh, I hear so many mamas coming on and they say, hold the ferry, we've got one on the way. If there is a major construction happening with summer tourism, I fear for the community that needs to get on that ferry and get over to Harborview quickly. So I would really like a study done on that and prove that the time that it will take for an ambulance to get through will actually happen in the time that it needs to, because the ambulance can't take the side streets from Ferncliff. It certainly can't go through downtown. I think the city would really want to see how their family members are going to be taken care of in the middle of a crisis. So as they're planning through their construction and their process, prove to our citizens of the island that that's even feasible, because I dare say it's not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hazel's mom. And is there anyone online who would like to speak? All right. See more? No one else? We close public comment? Oh, wait. Oh, please.
Hi, my name is Ellen Cork. I'm not used to speaking in public, but I oppose the roundabout. I don't know if any of you go to Safeway when the school gets out, but we have a lot of debaggles on Bainbridge. We have to know when all the schools get out, all the kids, all the pedestrians. It's crazy. Plus, going to the ferry, we can't go down Winslow Way to get onto the ferry. We have to go down High School Road and take a right. Now, when I pick pick up people from the ferry. I keep going straight and go down, what is it, Ferncliff? I go down there and then head for the ferry. So I think, with the traffic, I'm thinking of the school getting out, the summer backups. The summer backups go all the way down 305. And what are they going to just bog up the roundabout? I don't know. And then it also affects the businesses trying to get over to Ace, going to Virginia Mason, all of those things. So, and plus it's a lot of money. We could probably spend the money somewhere else. And then I was talking to some mechanics yesterday, and I told them, you should come, show up at the meeting. And they were saying, I mean, I have to go around Wyatt Way all the time, and they've been doing all that work around that. And then that mechanic there, the green light, I heard that they lost like $75,000 in business. And they did approach the city, and the city would not help them out at all. And I think being a close community, I think the city should help them out with that because it's been terrible through there. But anyway, I just thought I'd voice my opinion about it because we are a community and we need to take care of each other. Okay.
Thank you. And I don't know if you stated your name earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the council tonight? All right. So now I'll close the public comment and I would attempt or welcome a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilmember Lamb?
I'd like to make a motion to pull an item from the consent agenda. I'd like to pull item C.
All right. Is there a second?
Point of order. I don't think a motion's required.
Yeah, there, don't need that. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Thank you.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Nelson moved and it's seconded by Councilmember Lant to approve the consent agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote is 6-0. Chair votes aye, 7-0. I'll turn this back to Councilmember Lant since she moved an item off the agenda.
I appreciate the consistent, good-natured receipt of my Robert's Rules interpretations. Thank you very much. I am curious about study sessions. When I was a candidate, I consistently observed council meetings being canceled, and we have so much work to do. And I just wanted to just have it stated for those who don't know why we actually schedule 2 study sessions a month, but only host 1. And is this the correct way to approach study sessions? Or do we need to just give a little preamble to the cancellation or the consent agenda when we calendar them, but we plan to not have them?
Interim City Manager?
We can certainly reflect in the agenda bill that those items, that it is regularly scheduled and canceled when not needed. When our prior city manager was here, we worked hard to prepare materials for 2 business meetings and 1 study session a month. The code currently, the municipal code currently shows 2. We could certainly remove 1 and schedule an additional study session when they're necessary, particularly this year with the focus on the comprehensive plan and other work. We have at times scheduled the first study session of the month, but typically we haven't used that. Did that help?
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
I just want to say, I mean, this is obviously a topic of conversation for when our new city manager comes in, whoever that is, about how that person's preferences and our preferences are. And I'm certainly supportive of having that conversation.
Yeah. Councilor Nelson?
I'm just curious, is there not any pressing business that could be covered at this study session?
Interim City Manager?
Here we go. At this time, I think it would be the time is just too short to get something ready. we can certainly take a look at the study sessions coming up. I think that most of the ones coming up are pretty full, and we're ready for the one in April, and then are looking forward to May. I do think that it's possible in May and June with the comprehensive plan work that council may choose to schedule study sessions on the first Tuesday of the month.
Councilmember Lamb?
I just wanted to say that satisfied me. I just wanted to have it publicly, acknowledge that we weren't just deciding not to meet, that it was there was a reason behind it.
And Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
Just to be clear, because I'm not sure it was entirely clear, it is a workflow choice that was made by the executive, which I think is a rational choice, but we can make a different choice. But just to be clear for the community, the idea being that if staff is perpetually preparing for the next meeting, there's never time to get work done, I think is basically the idea. And so if we don't need it, that allows that. I did want to point out tonight is a 5th Tuesday, and we chose to add this meeting so that we could give good time for tonight's items. And that's an example of us opting in, which we could do more often.
Interim City Manager, do you have a final comment? All right. Okay. I would expect a motion on this.
I move to accept item C from the consent agenda.
Okay, and there's a second.
Point of order, I think she has to move to cancel at this point.
Well, she said it's item C. I'm assuming it's reading that, but
I move to cancel the pulling of item C from the consent agenda. Okay.
oh yeah,
Sorry.
good.
I move to cancel the meeting April 7th, 2026.
There we go.
I second that.
Okay, yeah. It's moved by Councilmember Lanton, seconded by Councilmember Nelson with some encouragement. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. 6-0, the chair votes aye. It passes 7-0. Now we move to item 5, regular business. And the first item is receive a briefing from the Washington State Department of Transportation and Washington State Ferries. Okay.
All right, Mayor Milwaukee, council members, good evening. Steve Rourke, Olympic Region Administrator with WashDOT. And we have actually 3 briefings for you this evening. I'll be covering the pre-design work for the safety improvements at High School Road. And I have 2 of my colleagues here, Olympic Region Traffic Engineer Sarah Ott will be covering the operational improvements at Winslow Way, or operations at Winslow Way. And Hadley Verdero, our Deputy Director for External Relations, is here to provide an update on Washington State Ferries. So I'm going to lead off. If you could just go to the next slide, we'll kind of dive in here. I wanted to just give a little background. I know there's been a lot of conversation around our safety program at WashDOT, how that program comes about. So I wanted to just provide a very high clip look at how we are allocated safety money. The state legislature writes the transportation budget. WashDOT does not do that. We have a budget that we execute. And that budget comes primarily in 2 categories when it comes to capital improvements. There are improvement projects and there are preservation projects. Our safety program is a subset of our improvement program. It's called I-2, as you see up there on the slide. And those funds, as I've mentioned before, are dedicated to safety improvements. And we have a very, I would say, fairly rigid process that we use and go about to figure out the highest and best use of that funding. So if we go to the next slide, I want to talk about that a little bit. I think I showed you this slide a little over a year ago to lay the groundwork for the crash data we looked at. And so when the way DOT goes about identifying areas around the state that need safety improvements, and that's primarily at intersections, by the way. We do have corridors that we look at, but most of our safety money is usually focused on intersections because that's where the most crashes are. And there's a couple things we look at: the frequency of crashes and the severity of crashes. And I won't go too deep into the process, but we do something called a crash analysis report. We do intersection control evaluations, which determines what type of intersection we should have. And we essentially go through a big priority ranking where we take all the data And we look at several years worth of data. In this case, as you see on the slide, we took the data set from 2015 to 2020 to build our, I believe it was our 2020 safety list. And we identify across the state, in this case, intersections, and we rank them until we run out of money provided to us through the transportation budget. In this case, High School Road was number 12 on that list when we developed the list. And I won't go into too much detail here. You can see the data up there, 29 crashes, one fatality, and some serious injury crashes. The severity and frequency is what drives the department's safety program. Okay, if we go to the next slide, the next step in the process after we have a crash analysis report and we look at mitigation measures, countermeasures, engineering countermeasures to mitigate the types and number of crashes we're seeing. And that process is well underway. And the countermeasure for High School Road was determined to be a roundabout. It solved the types of problems we were having, which were folks running the light, rear end collisions. There's one other one that was pretty predominant: inattention, following too close. Those types of crashes were occurring. Roundabouts, when designed properly, do some remarkable things, and the data speaks for itself. When you compare a roundabout against a signalized or a stop control intersection, you see a 37% reduction in overall collisions, a 75% reduction in injury crashes, a 90% reduction in fatal crashes, and a 40% reduction in pedestrian collisions. And that's not WashDOT's data, that's Federal Highway Administration's data. And it aligns very well with the anecdotal and the data that we have and the data that we collect, because we are the central repository for crash data in the state of Washington. And I can say with certainty that we see phenomenal results in terms of the reduction of crashes and the severity of those crashes for all modes of transportation at roundabouts. All right, and if we go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about modern roundabouts and the community engagement we've been going through. As I started off, we are early in the process here. We're kind of in a planning stage. We call it pre-design. And when we're done with the pre-design process, which will be later this summer, we will move into formal design. But I wanted to highlight some of the community engagement efforts we've done. We've done a fair amount. It's listed down. I'm not going to read this slide to you, but as you can see, we've had several events and interactions with the community to start gathering input about complete streets, how we can make this intersection usable and friendly for all users, and really to help shape the conceptual design. And I want to emphasize that we are still in the conceptual design stage. The rendering you're going to see on the upcoming slides is just that. It's a rendering. It's a work in progress. In fact, I'm going to show you two slides, one that we showed at the open house and the one we have right now that is taking in a lot of the information we received at the open house. So if we go to the next slide, just not to put too fine a point on it, but we received a lot of feedback on this project, a lot of good feedback, and we are sorting through those comments. I've received over 1,000 of them, and we're actively sorting through those to incorporate the elements that we can into the design. And some of the major themes, if we go to the next slide, you heard some of those earlier this evening. There's concerns about people walking and biking. There's concerns about ferry queuing, perceived lack of need, and the impacts with construction. So I think what you heard earlier this evening, it aligned very well with what we heard at the open house. And I want to now turn and really touch on some of the changes we've made in response to the community input. So if we go to the next slide, these, I believe, are the graphics we showed at the open house. And I wanted to point out the 4 bullets you see up there. Speed. One of the benefits of a roundabout is it lowers speed. And that's part of the reason why we see such a reduction in the frequency and the severity of crashes at roundabout intersections. So a lot of concern about pedestrians and bikes and getting people across the road. That travel distance on a roundabout in this design, and the one you'll see on the next slide, it's even shrunk even more. We're reducing those distances to make the travel across the intersection substantially less. But I wanted to point out these 4 bullets. The chicane coming down from the north leg of High School Road, we're going to sharpen that, much sharper than you see in that photograph there, to get the speeds down even lower. We like to see those speeds, 15 miles per hour. People who can make good decisions at those speeds. And pedestrians can also, the benefit of a roundabout, pedestrians only have to clear one direction. They don't have to look right and left. They know where traffic is coming from. So we want to sharpen that chicane to reduce the speed of the approaching traffic at the intersection. That second bullet, we're narrowing the exit lane heading northbound, so ferry traffic heading north. We're going to narrow that down substantially. It's not shown in that picture, but that's the plan. It's going to give bikes and pedestrians more of the right-of-way through that area, and it's going to have the effect of reducing speeds. And then from a transit standpoint, we're going to add space at the northbound stop, which you kind of see there. The southbound stop is just off the graphic there to the north. We're going to add a pullout for the southbound transit stop as well. And then what's not shown here, signing to help deter U-turns. So there's that 0.8 mile segment between Winslow Way and High School Road. We're planning to do some legally enforceable signing, robust signing, so that folks are deterred from making U-turns in that area. And then if we turn to the next slide, this is a work in progress, and I didn't write preliminary, conceptual, anything on that graphic, but again, it is just a rendering at this point. This is what the pre-design team is working on right now, and what will probably jump out at you right away is the separation of modes. So you almost have dual crosswalks at all 4 legs. The green is obviously for bicyclists. The white crossings are for pedestrians. And that is to separate the modes of traffic, or the modes of, in this case, non-motorized traffic. Separating bike and pedestrian modes provides less conflicts between those modes and makes operations safer for everyone. At each of those crossings, they will be raised, not quite as high as you have here in town, where I think we're going to look at 3 or 4 inches on our tabled landings for our crosswalks. Those are proven countermeasures to make pedestrians safer. And we're going to be installing rapid flashing beacons at all legs so that bicyclists or pedestrians can activate those for crossings. What's not shown here, I know the team is actively working on some striping and some on the pavement and some notifications to make sure folks don't block the roundabout, particularly on the leg coming south out of the roundabout. So if you can imagine hatching there, it says, do not block that leg. Signing as well for those. And also it didn't come through very well there, but I think it's red up there, connection to the trail system. And you notice that this is just a rendering, but we're proposing that to swing out to give space for pedestrians and bicyclists to maneuver through that area. So we are making good progress on incorporating the public comment that we received. We're not done yet. We're still sorting through the comments, and our pre-design team is working to get us to a place where we have a final conceptual design. And if you go to the next slide, we have, as I said, more work to do. We plan to wrap up in July of this year. We are planning to have another external meeting if necessary within the community. But what happens after that? Once we have a pre-design document and conceptual design done, we will move into design. And what that means is we're moving into the environmental process, we're moving into the final design process, and that means more community engagement as we go forward. Right now, from a funding standpoint, we expect to move into construction probably in 2028. So that is the extent of my remarks on High School Road. If you go to the next slide, I'd like to invite Sarah Ott up to talk a little bit about Winslow Way and the operations there. You're on this side of me.
Good evening. Next. So I wanted to talk about Winslow Way. So what that looks like today and why we got here is this first slide. So previously we received a lot of concerns from the community and users about ferry traffic blocking the intersection, drivers cutting the line, drivers getting confused on when to enter, to get into the ferry line, when they could turn right, just generally a lot of confusion about how to proceed through that intersection space. And really exacerbated by ferry line cutting. That was a really tremendous concern. And so in 2024, we kicked off implementing a full ferry-only lane. So we converted what had been a shared space for right-turning traffic and for ferry traffic. That mixing was really causing a lot of problems. And so in 2024, we implemented a full ferry-only lane for that right lane. So there's much more clarity now with if you're going to the ferry, you're here. If you're going anywhere else, you can go in the left lane. We added a lot of signing, we added a lot of pavement markings, and we worked with mapping applications like Google and Waze. And so that is telling motorists the correct lane to be in. So we did a lot of work in 2024 and up until now. And the next slide will show a little bit more of what we did. So coming from high school in the north, further south, we tell folks at least 7 times in signing about which lane is the correct lane to be in, and multiple additional times with ferry-only pavement markings. So a lot of work to go into provide that clarity of movement. So that's all what we've done so far. What we plan to do, and the top part of this slide is a city project. Actually, the city is working really hard and has a great concept laid out, and that's what's shown here. So for that west leg of Winslow, eastbound coming into the intersection, with the right turn restricted to the ferry, that right turn lane isn't as heavily used anymore. And so the city is going to close that lane and provide more space for bicyclists. And that's what's shown, that space is being repurposed. So that's a process that the city is going through that we're supportive of, I think is great. And the bottom picture is also a rendering. It's a concept. It looks pretty solid. They did a really nice job with Photoshop, but we're planning to relocate the ferry signal indications, the red, yellow, green for ferry. We're going to move those signal indications further north. So there's 2 span wires. It's a span wire signal system. And the signal indications for the general purpose for the left lane will be where they are today. So those are going to stay. And then we're going to move the ferry signal indications closer. So they'll be separated in space. So if you're waiting at the stop bar, at the stop line to turn left or right, you're just only going to see your signal indications. There won't be both visible. So we think that's really going to clean things up. We're planning to do that later this year. I don't have a great timeline yet. Probably after Seattle Soccer and World Cup is my best guess. There's a lot of priorities we're trying to work through before that. So my best guess is later this summer. But yeah, I think that's going to be really great. We're also working towards a grant. We're submitting a grant application through our Active Transportation Division. And that would help if we got the funding. We're going to try to upgrade the signal system, the controller. So there's a big steel gray box in the quadrant. We're going to upgrade that controller, create more space that allow more flexibility in what we can do. There's just only so much space in that cabinet today, so we're kind of limited. So that would be a great improvement, and some other kinds of things. But yeah, if we get that, we'll know later this summer. So that's what we're planning to do. We're going to add also more pavement, ferry-only pavement markings. So we've added quite a few. We think we can fit in a few more. We're going to do that just to try to make that as clear as can be what is the appropriate lane to be in. So that's the plan. Hadley, I think you're up.
Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. Let me skip this slide to the next one. Yep. So again, my name is Hadley Rodero from Washington State Ferries, and we're going to shift gears to a few topics that you all asked us to touch on tonight. So next slide. For the World Cup this summer, I know everyone's highly anticipating 750,000 plus people coming to the region during that period of time. And what we've heard and sort of some of the estimates we've heard is that a lot of those folks will want to take the ferry during the entire 6-week span of the event, not just on game days, but coming here to just travel around the region, as well as on game days itself, as people will seek lodging on this side of the water coming in and out of Seattle. So to prepare for that, I know that there's been some concerns expressed by community members and others that we wanted to address. We have budgeted for 24/7 security at the Bainbridge Island Ferry Terminal, as well as extra staff for the entire 22 days of the event. And we also will be increasing Washington State Patrol staffing above and beyond to have troopers there on game days and aboard vessels. We're also working with our Coast Guard sector Seattle partners to have marine security during all of those days of the 22 days of the World Cup. We'll also have additional Puget Sound Executive Services. That's the off-duty officers that provide traffic control at the terminal. We'll have additional 3 officers for the entire 22-day duration of the World Cup there to help provide traffic control, both at the Winslow Way intersection, but also further down by the terminal, anticipating a lot of unfamiliar ferry riders and vehicles coming through the intersection, and just to help keep things moving as quickly as possible as we anticipate heavier loads. We're going to have our Emergency Operations Center activated on all game days with a direct tie-in to other regional emergency operations centers. And we'll also have a direct link to Bainbridge's emergency services through that. So we can react really quickly on game days, as well as provide support to our frontline employees. And then on the service side of things, I know Bainbridge has been experiencing some delays recently. We will have 20 of our 21 vessels available during this time. As you all know, through the winter, we've had fewer than that, at times as few as 15 vessels, up to 17 vessels in service at any given time, while the other vessels rotate out for maintenance and preservation work, as well as some unplanned issues. But we will have 20 of the 21 vessels available, which will allow us to have 2 spare vessels staged to Eagle Harbor, ready to put into service if one of the other ferries should break down, and we'll do that as quickly as possible. We'll also have additional crew members at Eagle Harbor and at other terminals around the system ready to take the place if we're missing a crew member and try to keep service, which is something that we don't normally do. So we think with these plans, we'll be able to, especially for Bainbridge Island as our closest to Seattle terminal, have additional traffic control and additional security in place during that event. And so next slide. On another topic entirely, we're working, as I think we've told you at one of our last meetings, to update the sailing schedule for both the Bremerton route and the Bainbridge Island route. We're going to be doing robust community engagement, as well as a lot of work internally to update the sailing schedule, which has been in place for about 15 years, other than some minor tweaks when the Coleman Dock construction started. And then we committed at that time to going back and really looking at a holistic view of that sailing schedule and trying to improve the on-time performance. This route currently has one of our lowest on-time performances in the system. And so we're going to be beginning that process later this spring. We have put out a call for applicants to join our community task force, and we had over 100 applicants, the majority of those from Bainbridge Island, who wanted to be on that task force. And we've narrowed it down to about 20 to 25 folks who will represent various interests and meet with us regularly to advise us on that process, as well as other community engagement that we'll be doing throughout the whole time. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. The plan is to have a new sailing schedule in place by fall 2027. And we'll be coming back to you, I'm sure, with updates on that. So those are the 2 ferry-related topics for tonight. And now I guess all 3 of us can take questions.
Well, thank you so much for your presentations and clarity. Just a quick question. How many people are on the advisory committee?
The task force?
The task force, right.
We're going to select about 20 to 25 folks.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, I wasn't glancing, so I don't know whose lights went on first. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Scheider, then Councilmember Fowler Johnson. Okay.
Yeah, so this is going to be about the roundabout, and I actually haven't had any chance to speak to you before. I think I was having a health issue or something at the end of last year when you're here, so I'm sorry if I'm going to be asking questions that have been asked, but I continue to have them. And those are, I do want to say Roundabouts are amazing. I'm a fan of them. I think people just don't understand them. I have no doubt that the safety data is true. And I guess my concern is the interface of the roundabout with the ferry more than anything else. And the presentation tonight was emphasizing safety, 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 safety. And certainly it's true in public policy sometimes that it's true that X is a very high importance in isolation, but when it comes in conflict with something else, it may not have the same level of, may not be as compelling, it may not be viable. And so I'm wondering about what you can tell us to assure us that you understand the volume, the behavior of the drivers. I live on the south end, and so as somebody made a comment about all of us on the south end and all of us basically in the central area and in arguably some other areas of the island have to reasonably enter that flow to the ferry in a car from High School Road. And it makes no sense to me how that's going to work without backing up the concern about how will we ever have any priority to get in at a peak time. So do you have a presentation that you've been giving that explains that engineering and studying that you've done and what data you understand and how you project the behavior of the drivers to work? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'll be the first to say that, ferry traffic introduced this intersection is pretty close to the terminal, so that it is a unique situation. There's no question about that. That's why we have challenges at Winslow Way as well. What I would say is, there's about, on one side of the intersection, it's about 10,000 cars a day. They're almost 14,000 on the other side of the intersection here at High School Road. Side streets carry about 9,000 and 7,000 respectively. So a fair amount of traffic. And so we have looked at that. What I would say about it is this is a safety project first, but there are also incredible mobility benefits from this project. Our modeling shows that the delay, so if we always, in engineers, we talk about level of service. Right now, that intersection operates today, level of service D, which we grade A through F. D is not real great. So that means there's quite a bit of delay, and it's around 40, high 30s, low 40s seconds of delay on average. And we've looked at this in the summer and in the winter. So we looked at peak summer traffic, and I'm talking about the PM peak hour here. If you look at a roundabout today, the total delay at that intersection gets cut more than in half, which means the throughput, the number of cars getting through that intersection is going to perform much better than the signal you have there today. So putting that together, we're going to get safety benefits and we are going to get mobility benefits with the roundabout. What's really interesting is if you look, we always have to guess at what traffic projections look like. But we do try to project 20 years into the future, kind of our design year. If you look in the future, the signal today, it will fail. And you'll need to make some kind of improvement, or the state of Washington, I should say, it's a state highway, will need to make some kind of improvement to that intersection. And that will likely be a roundabout in the future, if not for the safety needs today. Even in the future with the roundabout, our projection in 2045, it'll still be operating pretty well, better than it does today with the signal. So I don't know if that answered your question, but we have looked at it from a traffic operational standpoint. Is this project going to solve the backups due to basically not having long ferry holding lanes? No, it's not. And it's not going to be any worse than the signal today, in our opinion. People will behave how they're going to behave, but for the most part, operations from that standpoint aren't going to improve dramatically other than the throughput through the intersection.
Thank you, Councilmember. Oh, did you want to follow up on this, Deputy Mayor?
Hopefully somebody else will ask, but maybe you all already know the answer. But at some point, I would just like to understand how the holding lane use of 305 will function as it crosses the roundabout, how that will move through the roundabout on the Saturdays, Sundays, Sunday in particular, and the summer and that sort of thing.
Well, I can take a stab at it. If I get this wrong, Sarah, step in here, but it's going to operate very much like it does today with the signal. So we're going to provide signing and hatching to what I mentioned earlier in my presentation to make sure folks aren't blocking the roundabout. But I think a reasonable driver, if they get into the roundabout and they find out that it's queued up, they're going to have to continue around they're going to have to clear the intersection and continue around the roundabout and do what I think drivers probably do today, which is go up and find another way to get in line. But I think I've heard that there will be folks park on the shoulder today, north of High School Road. I think that may very well continue in the future during those really peak periods. The project is not going to solve storage issues. So I don't know, did I miss anything?
No, I'm gonna let other people know. Come on. Okay, thank you very much. So just to make sure we get the following order correctly, I have Councilmember Scheiderer, then Councilmember Franklin Johnson, then Councilmember Matthews, then Councilmember Lant, and Councilmember Nelson. I got all those lights right. Great. So Councilmember Scheiderer, please.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Hi, Steve. I also want to say that I'm a fan of roundabouts, and I'm grateful that they slow things down. So there's a little tiny roundabout just up here, like a block, that gets that takes a lot of ribbing on social media. But before it became a roundabout, I was a pedestrian going across there, and I was hit by a slow moving car, and I got taken to Harborview. So, you know, I had fractures in my spine. I had a dislocated shoulder. I would say that those were serious injuries. You know, it affected me for months afterwards. So I do think that that intersection needs huge improvements. What I am concerned about in the current design is the fact that you've got two lanes coming in on all four sides. And, you know, I was looking up the pedestrian and safety guide, countermeasure selection system, blah, blah, blah. And there was a quote in there. I pulled the quote. The roundabouts are typically not appropriate for the intersection of two multi-lane roads. So this is specifically referring to, you know, pedestrian and bicycle traffic. And so I provided my colleagues with, you know, just so that you could kind of get an idea, but the name of the problem is the multiple threat. Does that ring a bell? Where you've got two people coming into an intersection at driving, and you've got a pedestrian or a bike crossing, and the first, you know, the first lane that the pedestrian is going to walk into, let's say, that driver sees them and they stop. And then the one that's coming in next to it doesn't see them because the car is blocking them. And so you could end up with a slow speed. It probably wouldn't be fatal, but you would still have a fairly serious accident if there was, you know, a pedestrian or a cyclist coming in there. So what I'm wondering is if there has been any studies of making it a one lane roundabout. And I understand that that would mean, you know, kind of siphoning in two lanes further out to come in to the roundabout. And then as I was looking at it, it kind of struck me that there might be an additional benefit to that. So Councilmember Hytopoulos, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos was looking at, was questioning, how are you going, if you've got all this southbound traffic coming from the north and you've got eastbound traffic, because everybody is funneled that way to get down to the ferry. You really can't go any other route unless you go way up north and come back further down. But one additional interesting little benefit is if you narrow that southbound traffic to one lane, then you're going to be squishing together the ones that want to make a right-hand turn from the, you know, and they're going to be squished in with the ones that want to go straight. And so when those right-handed turners go, that's going to create a break for, you know, the eastbound traffic, the ones that need to make a right-hand lane. So it'll give them a fighting chance. And then of course you're going to get the whole line of cars, you know, it's like, oh, there's my chance. I better not let any gaps happen. Right. So I'm not saying there aren't going to be some struggles, but I'm just really concerned about the two-lane aspect of it. And I know two lanes work well where you don't have a lot of bicycle and pedestrian, you know, up at the, in Poulsbo at the Johnson Road, you've got a beautiful underpass that, first of all, you don't have a lot of pedestrians in that area anyway. And then you've got the underpass, the separated grade for bicycles. So what kinds have you done some studies with it just being single lane, and how does that work out?
And you're primarily referring to the southbound movement, correct?
I mean, I looked at it from all different directions, and I don't see why you couldn't have one lane on all of them. Like if you're looking at northbound coming off the ferry, well, that row of traffic has got priority and you're gonna, everybody's gonna get off the ferry. So there's really no panic about it, but there's panic about getting onto the ferry and, and the merging of these two directions coming in to get on. So I think it really applies to all entrances to the roundabout.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Sarah to talk about that a little bit. I mean,
We did do our analysis. So the analysis that Steve talked about before, we did look at different lane configurations. Could we simplify and have a single lane approach? So we did look at that. It would increase delay in queuing pretty substantially. And so we felt like the best trade-off, in still providing extremely beneficial safety performance. We're not losing anything. There's still really great performance, but going to a single lane would really exacerbate delay in queuing that we didn't think the community would appreciate.
But you're saying though that, you're keeping the traffic moving, right? So if that single line is coming in and it's moving, if you end up having some delay, then it would maybe appropriately push that ferry line back, right? So that you didn't have people, I guess, so I get it that you've done your modeling and it, and it allows more cars to go through faster, which, is maybe a benefit for the cars, maybe not, depending on what direction you're coming from and how you're trying to sneak in the line. But it's definitely not a benefit for the pedestrians and cyclists. So I guess I would just like to put it out there that, could we get some feedback on the multiple threat piece of the design?
Understood. And we do take that very seriously, certainly. And that's why we're here, right? Because we do care very much. So some things that Steve talked about before to help that, again, slow speeds, like 15, when you can get folks driving 15 to 20 miles an hour, you can help make really good decisions at 15 and 20 miles an hour, unlike 40 or 35 or 45. Those are more challenging to make a decision. So 15 to 20 is really the goal of what we're going for. Roundabouts, again, Steve mentioned that, but as a pedestrian in a vehicle, you're only looking, the conflict is only coming from one direction. Roundabouts have 8 ways, 8 conflict points, 8 ways that a crash could occur. At a signalized intersection, it's 32. So we're already wiping away 3/4 of the types of crashes that can occur. So low speeds, lower conflict points, the type of conflict points that do exist are low severity type of conflict points. They're not that enter at angle. It's not someone running a red light and striking a pedestrian in a crosswalk. It's not, it's just more challenging. So roundabout helps solves those things. The raised tabled crossings that we are planning to include are also a really great mitigation strategy to help prevent that multiple threat, keeping pedestrians and folks walking and biking and rolling at a little bit higher, a little bit more visible. Again, a speed countermeasure helping reinforce a lower speed environment that can still be navigated easily and well, but just not at high speeds. So that's a really great strategy that we're employing. And the rectangular rapid flashing beacons are a proven countermeasure as well to improve stopping compliance and better visibility for pedestrians and people walking and rolling as well. So we're really doing a lot that we're planning for now. And I think, again, when we go into design, I think there's still some nuances that we can refine, certainly.
Sure, I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate the flashing beacons, and the raised crosswalks. I would just say that, I was hit at much lower speed than 15 to 20 miles, but then 10 to 15 miles per hour. So it seems, and it was at, It was at 5 o'clock on almost the winter solstice. So it was dark and a little bit rainy out. And the woman who was driving the SUV that hit me said, "Oh, I didn't see her. She was wearing black." So if the cars can't see you, you know, even a slow speed accident can be pretty devastating. And I personally feel much safer in the new roundabout, even with as much grief as it gets in the community. So again, I appreciate the roundabout. I just would like to see a little bit more concern for the sight lines for pedestrians and bikes. And of course, if you've got a bike coming across, they're going to come across faster. You know, it's just scary. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Farrell Johnson, followed by Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you. I appreciate you all coming out and responding to our questions. And I'm not one of the people who love roundabouts. It seems to me, they built one behind my house. That's probably why. But it seems to me that the thing that we're not taking into, we're not really looking at, we're looking at the safety, which, yes, we want people to be safe. We don't want fatalities. We don't want anybody getting hit by a slow moving car or a fast moving car. And but what's not being taken into context is that it feels like to me that traffic is going slower because it's all backed up, right? When the ferry comes off double by double, I know that's not, your fault. That when they come off though, and it's backed up at the roundabout. That's where it's backed up at. And I worry, along with there not being enough queuing time so traffic can flow, is that everybody's headed north trying to get off the island, and they're stopped at both these roundabouts that's in the way. What's gonna happen when, we have a bigger roundabout? It's all gonna queue up at High School Road, right? I've seen on the other side of this, I've seen traffic backed up in the queuing lane trying to get onto the ferry past High School Road, right? So the big problem there is nowhere else for anybody to go to get in line. If traffic is backed up past High School Road, you cannot drive down 305 and turn around and get in line anywhere. There is nowhere. There's no other street. There's nothing. And if you come back to High School Road, you can't get in line there because the line's already there, right? Because we got this big roundabout now and they're queued up. How are you going to get in there? You can't get in there because I can see it being queued up now past the roundabout at Madison. It's like that's why traffic is slower, in my opinion, because everything's going to be all queued up. Nobody's going to be moving, and it's going to be a problem. And that's, this is after this is built. Before it's built, this is what has me mostly, against these things, is that it takes forever to get these things built. And the construction is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. And if we're not doing anything, I know you're at the very beginning, right? So I'm just wanting people to think about all of this as we go about it. It was great to have people come and say, well, your lights are going to be out because we're putting up lights. That's fine. But then the lights are out 2 days. It's like, electric going to be up, because there's things that you're contracting with other people and, you're not sure what they're doing. And there was a lot of times we called project management because nobody told us something was happening, so it's a lot for a community to go through. It's not just a simple thing. High School Road is one of our busiest intersections. It is busy. Because we have an elderly population that likes to get around. We're moving on bikes, we're walking, they're out there. I'm not, but they are. They're moving. And we're talking about now not restricting. We think we're doing them a good job, but I can see it, it's a fear, right? How am I going to be getting around now? You know, we have to be able to tell the community that, yes, we have your safety in mind, but we're going to make sure you're safe. You know, we're going to try to not inconvenience you as much with all of this construction. We're going to, you know, because they're looking at us saying, what are you guys going to do about it? And like was said, you know, the only thing that we're doing is letting you know how our community feels. And we understand that you're taking it very seriously because you're out here. But we want to make sure you understand, and you took all of the comments, the 1,000, you know, we're very outspoken here on Bainbridge. We will tell you exactly what we don't like. We just hope that you take all of it and put it in your design, because right now I don't see it in your design. I don't. I see you swinging out and you're going to go to the trail, but I don't see it. And I know, I mean, maybe an overhead is a little bit too much, but I like that idea. I like giving somebody a different way to cross or bike, the same way Posable did. I like that being where I know I'm gonna be safe. I'm gonna go up under this thing and not have to worry about what's going on up around it. And I know that's probably impossible to do, but I'm just saying it's a good idea.
Councilmember Matthews and Councilmember Lamb.
Thanks so much, Mayor. I don't want to echo so much of, you just cut off a lot of what I'll have to say, so I'll just be really brief. So first of all, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to be here today. And thank you to Hadley for all the work you do with the Ferry Advisory Committee. I'm sure you're aware of the community pushback and conversations surrounding the roundabout, as well as some of the pushback you've received from this body and even our legislators since we inadvertently discovered this project was happening in October of 2024. A storage issue is something I had never heard of before today, and that actually does sum it up perfectly. And I have to say now I'm even more concerned. I noticed for the first time that you had tabling on the ferry back in October of 2025. And I was just wondering what any of the feedback you received from that was. And could you share any of the feedback you received then? And then just to educate the public, who are the local partners you engaged in August, September, and in December of 2025? I was able to attend the open house at Woodward in February. I saw myself in the photo with the green vest and my hat. I was like, oh. The main takeaway for many was that this is probably happening no matter what, because of the liability and risk associated with it not happening right now. So if you could confirm if you see that as true or not, now that it's been identified as needing safety improvements were it not to happen, would you face any liability? And I'm just hoping that as we go forward, that the safety and determine the safety improvements, which ones serve the community best at that intersection, that we can be part of a collaborative process. I know we all want best and safest for our community, and hopefully we'll get there. I really like the idea of a pedestrian overpass. I don't know how feasible it is for, and when I think of accessibility, I actually see a large number of motorized wheelchairs and scooters at that intersection. So I don't know if those are elevators that go up, or if there's the possibility for the underground, like Johnson Roundabout, but just some sort of additional maybe engagement with those communities or with our our accessibility. We now have an accessibility advice, right? Community or chair or something. So just to really figure out the best solutions. So yeah, again, thank you for being here. And Winslow Way. I'm still hearing from community members that the lights there are still, there's something up with the timing of the lights. So I don't know if that's something you can look at. I actually work on that corner. So I cross at that light all the time. And we actually have to jaywalk because it takes such a long time. Like if you stand there and wait, you can be there in 9 minutes. So nobody has time for that. So we all usually just cross. And then I know, I'm a New Yorker, it's okay. And then I was wondering if you've ever explored, like in Capitol Hill, they have the always crosses. to see if that might be a solution, especially as we're starting to plan for building housing on that corner. It would be great to collaborate with us early in the process and see which ways are safest for moving folks. So that's all, and thank you for being here.
Can you remember all of that?
Sorry, I know it was long.
Yeah, a couple things there. You know, we are obligated to address safety concerns on the state highway system. I do not recall all the partners that we met with during those meetings, and I saw a list. I can share that with all of you when we get a chance. In the tabling event on the ferries, my suspicion is the feedback is very similar to what we heard at the open houses, but I don't know that for a fact. So let me run that to ground as well. And I'll let Sarah speak to the all-way crosswalk.
We are kicking that around internally. The grant application that I talked about, getting that signal cabinet upgraded, allows more flexibility in operations. One of the things that it could allow that we can't do now is an all-walk phase. Some pros and cons. Pros, everyone can walk wherever, like there's a dedicated, anyone can go anywhere space, which is great. The negative side of that is typically peds are held for every other phase. So where a pedestrian will normally be able to cross with the vehicle going with it in that same kind of through movement, that would be held so that everyone would cross and scramble. Pros and cons. So it's not a perfect solution, but it is a possibility that we're exploring.
And you had all your other thoughts responded to, because you had a lot of things you said. You
No, that's really great. And so, yeah, anything you can send, but thank you. And that's really great to know you're considering it.
All right.
Thanks, Mayor.
You bet. Councilmember Land and Councilmember Nelson.
Thanks, Mayor. And also, thank you guys very much for coming. I know that you probably expected a lot of comments coming from us tonight, and I appreciate your willingness and cheerful faces in response. So thank you for that. My comments, I really echo everything I've heard so far. I have one question regarding the Winslow Way intersection, and the rest are about the proposed high school roundabout. The Winslow Way intersection, you mentioned that there's going to be some additional staffing throughout the FIFA timing. There we go. Can you tell us a little bit more? Will that be like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.? Are these 12-hour days? I think we had talked about, we had reached out to this Transportation Commission in Olympia looking for some extra funds to help us, and we were denied that. So I just want to understand if these funds were already in the budget for WashDOT for this purpose already, and the money that we were looking for was on top of that, or is this you reached out because you saw it was a need that had to be filled?
So two things. One, I believe it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but I can confirm the hours that we would have that additional traffic control there. That's 2 shifts with some overlap in the middle of the day is how that works, especially on weekends. The funding, we did have traffic control funding that has been appropriated for the last several biennia. It's for all of our terminals where we need off-duty police officers to do traffic control. So in the budget, it's written as a list of terminals, and it's up to us and our operations staff to sort of allocate those hours with Puget Sound Executive Services that we contract with. I believe the intent of the money you were looking for was solely for Bainbridge Island. So that's one answer. And then the funding for this during the 22 days of the World Cup came from funds that we were given, and all of WashDOT was given, and some was given to WSF to provide support during the World Cup itself. So it's those 22 days rather than the entire summer season that I believe that money, that request was aimed at. So sort of different pots of money, but the goal is to have those 22 days covered with additional traffic control. And then we would have the same pot of funds to do traffic control that we always do for the rest of the summer season.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. I appreciate that explanation. Okay, so back to then the proposed roundabout at High School Road. The questions that I haven't heard come up yet are, number one, when this original proposal came out, I believe that WashDOT was working with a set of metrics that had an outcome that is the proposal. But I believe I heard that the metrics had changed over time. And I'm wondering if the metrics have changed, hasn't our ranking of need for this roundabout changed as well?
When you say metrics, you mean the crash data?
Mm-hmm. And by that specifically, and this is something I haven't verified for myself, but I have heard other folks talk about the fact that the points of measurement initially were this big. But then when it came back to the actual project, it was the measurements were taken at two different points, or maybe one different point, moving this way.
Yeah, I'm going to let Sarah talk a little bit more about the intervals, but I mean, the data is what it is. We don't parse the data to get an outcome. So we periodically, as an agency, collect the data. We are the central repository for that crash data, and we build our safety program based on that data. And I believe it was a 5-year, or was it a 4-year? Go ahead.
5 years, 2015 to 2019 were the 5 years of data that we used to evaluate. By the time we also added 2020, we had that available to us. We included that in our evaluation. And the target crash type or intersection related crashes. Steve had a slide on it earlier, but fatal and 3 serious crashes. So those were the target crashes that we were looking at and deciding what engineering countermeasures could help mitigate for that target crash type. Already having a traffic signal control, rear end, running a red light, like those speeding, those types of things can't be solved by more signal. The signal's already there. So a roundabout is a proven countermeasure. That's how we can drill down to what is the right solution at this location.
So I guess what I'm asking, has anything changed in the information in the last 5 years that would have made some changes to this proposal? Again, I have heard that where the information is coming from originally wasn't strictly around that intersection per se. Information was taken further south down the highway and possibly further north down the highway. I'm not sure, but I do believe further south down the highway. And that would have included more incidents that may not have been able to be solved by a roundabout, but included in the information that is pushing us towards this solution. Do you have any information on that?
I think I know what you're talking about. The crashes that we looked at to determine a roundabout were based on the crashes at the intersection.
At the intersection only, okay.
Any other crashes that were, I think there was some confusion that got,
Yeah.
that unrelated. Yep,
Okay.
the crashes that are related would be mitigated by a roundabout.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and if you'll allow me, I've got another question or two.
Just one, please.
Okay. Well, if that, I'll have a follow-up to this, but I consider Bainbridge Island Fire Department to be our community's safety expert. They know every road on this island intimately. Can you describe how you've addressed any of the fire department's concerns and how you're working with them as a community partner to make sure that Hazel's mom and her friends get to the boat and that the fire department can get through an intersection, especially because the adjacent roads already have infrastructure that makes their equipment very difficult to navigate at high speeds during especially emergent situations. And my other comment on that was going to be, how does WashDOT plan to address how traffic is now going to be pushed to side roads, as in the northern roundabouts that we have? I spend a lot of time walking those roads with very upset neighbors because people are bypassing the highway altogether and using adjacent roads to get to the furthest northern point on the island. And I would love WashDOT's if you can support traffic calming on adjacent roads that are now a consequence of, suffering consequences of the roundabouts that only work in a silo on the highway and don't address adjacent roads. Thank you.
Yeah, so Let me start with the emergency services. I mean, certainly we work closely with emergency services. I know I saw several fire department members at our open house here recently. I think we corresponded with the fire chief last week in regard to this roundabout we're proposing. When it comes to movement of emergency vehicles through roundabouts, it works fairly well. There's a lot of data examples to share across the state of Washington, across the country. When it's a modern, properly designed roundabout. So with mountable surfaces, which we're planning to do, a mountable center island, motorists still have to obey the law, move over, get out of the way. That applies in a roundabout as well as it does on any highway. The signal you have there today, that still applies. So we believe this roundabout's going to function as well as any roundabout in the state in terms of moving. I don't know if we've confirmed the largest fleet in the fire department here on Bainbridge, but we will certainly do that as we move into design to make sure that we're accommodating the largest fleet vehicle they have. So your question about off-system improvements, DOT, as a general rule, is barred from making improvements off the state highways, spending taxpayer money, gas tax money off the state highway system. It doesn't mean we can't coordinate with our local partners, and we do. But making capital improvements off the state highway system would be very challenging. Was that all? I think I covered your questions.
Councilmember Nelson, then we're starting over again. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah, first, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. So I have a few sort of rapid fire questions, then a few longer ones. So the cost is at 29 million. What's the total cost of the project?
Okay, so we are in the conceptual stage. We're working at what we like to call parametric estimating. We don't have quantities. We have not done any engineering, so to speak. Right now, we think it's about 6.9. So I'm not sure where you got 29.
Okay, I think that was one public commenter. Okay, and then looking at the crash data on page 3 of the slides, what is meant by PDO? Property damage only. Okay. And then how do you define possible injury?
We're not the enforcement agent, so we would rely on our state patrol partners, local police, county sheriff, our enforcement wings of the state. But they're trained to assess that. That's not anything that that's not a DOT function.
Okay. Okay. And then do you have more recent data? I'm just wondering why this is only 2015 to 2020. What's happened in the last 5 years?
Okay, data.
We do have that data. That was the data that we used to make the decision. And then time passes as we work through getting things programmed, and also the process just takes time. But that was the data that was used to make that decision.
Okay.
From 2020 to 2024, there were 11 crashes and 1 pedestrian struck by driver.
Okay. How many serious injuries?
I don't have that data in front of me.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, and then so as far as the ranking list, you said we're number 12 on the list. Is the list based solely on crash data, or is there other criteria that goes into making the list?
Frequency and severity.
Frequency and severity. It's based on Highway Safety Manual methodology, so national methodology that Washington State DOT uses. There's the amount of traffic and the type of intersection control are factored, as well as, I think, vulnerable road user populations. But it's primarily crash severity and frequency.
Okay, but it's not just that. Okay, and then was number 1 through 11 on the list already completed?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, very good. I'd be interested in knowing that. Just okay. So you mentioned earlier in response to one question that with the roundabout throughput would be increased. Does that take into account folks coming from east or west trying to get on into the roundabout, or would that just mean throughput is increased and it's pretty much all north to south because no one can actually get in coming from the west?
All directions. Yeah, it's every movement, every type of user in every movement. It's more efficient. A roundabout is more efficient for every approach.
Okay. And then so I think one thing that really does concern me And I think Deputy Mayor Haitopoulos really touched on this one, which is, I mean, we are a community that needs the ferry, and ferry traffic is critical to the functioning of this city. And I'm just looking at, okay, there was one fatality in 6 years and 3 serious injuries. All the while, what we're thinking about is a design that has the potential to seriously slow down traffic and disrupt ferry traffic. And I think what bothers me is you said that you could end up with parked cars north of the roundabout. And when I look at the design of the roundabout, if you have ferry traffic backed up from the ferry to the roundabout, you're just blocking the intersection entirely because it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. And so I'm trying to understand how that would work. If you have a long ferry line, we just stop traffic entirely?
So what I was referring to is anecdotally, we've been informed by the community that sometimes traffic backs up to the north of High School Road and people park on the shoulder.
And it does, yeah.
What I was trying to relay to you is that's not going to change. Are people going to block the roundabout? Again, we're planning to use hatching and things like signing to say don't block the roundabout. It would be illegal to block the roundabout. My sense, a reasonable driver, if they get into the roundabout and they see that the traffic, the holding area south of the roundabout is full, they'll either proceed around the roundabout and go back up and turn around. I don't know what they'll do, but it's not that much different than what occurs today. If it's stacking up north of the intersection today, I think it will in the future.
Well, but I think the point I'm also making is that there's only 1 lane when you come out of the roundabout going north to south, right, towards the ferry. So if cars are backed up to the roundabout, they're just in the only lane, right? And so then you just have the whole intersection blocked.
Are you talking southbound or northbound?
If you're heading southbound towards the ferry.
Okay.
And then from the ferry, they're lined up because we're used to 2 lanes, right? And so if it turns into 1 lane, then you have the whole line just stopped there, right, on the other side of the roundabout. Does that make sense? So then there's no lane for anyone to come out of the roundabout heading southbound.
I'm not sure I follow you completely, but there's 2 lanes coming into the roundabout southbound. One departs westerly into town. Coming north, the inside lane would go around the roundabout to depart westerly into town. The outside lane would be effectively the through lane. Did I get that right?
Everybody wants to go one way.
Oh, and then the single lane southbound from eastbound High School Road traffic, that's where we referred to, we're going to be installing hatching to make sure folks don't block that segment.
But do you see where when you come out, there's only 1 lane?
Doesn't show it. Cues here.
Right.
And if they're backed up to that, they have nowhere else to go. Okay, anyway, so I think I also share my colleagues' concerns about pedestrian safety, bicycles. I could sort of go on and on. Suffice it to say, we get a lot of messages about this. And I'd say 95% of them from the community say we do not support this project. And I think my question really is, how can we convince you not to do it? Because it feels like taxpayer money, a lot of taxpayer money being spent, and it's sort of, who is this for? If the community doesn't want it, why are we doing it? And I think I'd appreciate some confirmation that 1 through 11 on the list has already been done. And I'd also like to know, is WashDOT gonna, face some sort of liability if they skip number 12? Or is it just a general duty to do what's on the list? And I'll sort of leave it there, and thank you, okay?
In terms of your question about do we face liability? Yes, we do. In fact, I could talk to you offline about that if you would like, with another intersection not too far from here. We're obligated to address safety issues on the state highway system that is directed to us by our CW and by the legislature. So it's not optional.
Thank you for that.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Lamb.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. I've got my three areas, one comment first, which is three quick things. But thank you for mentioning I'm not familiar with the safety data. So if that's accurate, or approximately accurate, that we're talking about one fatality and several serious injuries, is that what we're talking about? So this goes back to my original point about weighing policy needs. So 4.9 million riders a year go through that terminal, and that is the only way to the terminal for cars and the primary way for most people who are dropping people off or on a bus. So 4.9 million local, traveling, whatever, residents, everybody from Kitsap County, Bainbridge, Seattle, everywhere. And I see that as skewed in favor of the ability to have that transit system function. That's my opinion. I think it's probably shared by most of the community. And I don't think that's just for Bainbridge Islanders. I think it's for Kitsap County residents who are trying to get somewhere as well as people trying to get the other direction. Two quick points I want to make just to reiterate that I think are, well, one quick point that was made by someone in the audience is so important that we want to be sure you understand. For emergencies, many of us do not go west. Many of us go east, even for emergencies, definitely for our substantial medical care, maybe even our everyday medical care. So if we are cut off from Seattle for any substantial period of time, that's a big deal, whether we're a cancer patient, a pregnant person, you name it, somebody who has a traumatic brain injury. So I hope that's being taken into consideration. It's possible if you all are from elsewhere that you just assume we just go the other direction off the bridge, and we don't all do that by any means. Fairness is another thing. Fairness of drivers' behavior that I want to just point out. We're experts, those of us who've lived here decades or whatever, we're expert in how people will behave at ferry terminals when they want to get on. And that is what has led to the collapse basically finally of the ability to get onto the ferry from Winslow Way, right? And even now, with all the efforts by WashDOT and by the city, we can sit there facing, at bad traffic times and facing that intersection and watch people cut and anger rise and people make bad choices. And I kind of wonder whether this is an unsafe intersection up there in part because of that desperation behavior. And that behavior and desperation is going to carry through into this roundabout. And now we're going to be interfering, and nobody's convinced me otherwise yet at all that there's a solution for the backups coming from the south end, which means they're coming eastbound, and from the huge amount that are coming from the north. And how the holding lane, which is, as I understand it, it basically is a holding lane on the shoulder north of high school. It's understood, I believe, by WashDOT or by the ferries, it's a subset, that's the only place to go. So no one's explaining how that line of traffic will be able to feed in with the behaviors we're talking about, as somehow there's also traffic flowing through. So right now, I've never sat in that line because I wouldn't, but I'm assuming what happens is because we have the fairness of a light, red, green, there's some ability to meter that when that opening happens up beyond the intersection that people could feed through. And I'm not seeing how that even is a function in a roundabout. And the last thing I'm just going to say is I was just really concerned about the fact that it sounded like you all thought that there's some other way to get into those holding lanes. And if we're this far into this and there's a thought that people are going to come down and say, oh, it's busy, I'm going to go the other way. There is no other way. That is the beginning now that Winslow Way is cut off. The only way to the ferry terminal. Thanks.
Councilmember Lamb, then Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I kind of jumped when Councilmember Nelson asked about projects 1 through 11. That's something we should know how you're handling those. I would assume if it's ranked, we would be number 12 on the list, and those other projects would have been completed. So if there was a way to get some feedback on that. I'm curious if WashDOT has some kind of a post-project review process, and do you ever make updates to completed projects?
we do have a post-project review process from a construction standpoint. I'm not sure what you're referring to with your second question.
Well, if you go back and you look and see how the project, did the results actually confirm what you intended the project to do? Is it doing that? And if you see some things happening that maybe weren't anticipated, do you have funds to address that?
Sometimes. I will tell you probably a very relevant example. We built the roundabout up in Port Townsend at, do you remember the name of that intersection? Kearney Street. So very similar. It's in a city, busy. We built that roundabout. It didn't function quite the way we thought it would, or the city expected it to. And so we did go in and make some revisions to, primarily for bikes and peds at that roundabout. We learned a lot from that experience, and we're applying some of those learnings here. But we don't generally have money. Once we're done with the construction project, we don't generally have funds to come back in and modify it to make repairs, yes, but not to modify the scope generally.
Councilor Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to direct the interim city manager to draft a resolution to be considered at a future business meeting, reflecting that the Bainbridge Island City Council does not support the proposed roundabout at High School Road and State Route 305.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilmember Nelson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Discussion. Councilmember Matthews, you did have your light on.
I did have my light on.
Before the motion.
That was before the motion. I will support the motion. I think it, but before that, I just wanted to convey how much, so I live on the south end, a couple of us do, and we come from that direction. And just to make you aware that a lot of folks from the south end are actually feeding to the ferry from a parking lot. So we often have to sort of go through town, go up Erickson, and then go into Hildebrand, which is like the Safeway parking lot area. And then that's how we actually turn right onto the ferry. So just to be aware of that, I don't know if because when that in the summertime, when that's blocked up, that can start and that's a whole other thing. There was supposed to be a car wash there, which is a whole other issue. But so just to be aware of that traffic pattern as you go forward.
Councilman Schneider and then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about supporting the resolution. I mean, obviously there will be more discussion at a future time. I guess what I would prefer is that that you're able to come back to us with some responses to the concerns that we've raised. And then from that, I would feel a little bit more able to, make a decision on a resolution for, pro or con. Because, I mean, you talk about liability. I think that there is some created liability in the design, as it is right now. And so that would definitely concern me, and that might lead me to support a resolution not in support of the roundabout. So yeah, do you think that there is any chance that you could come back to us with some modeling for how the ferry traffic merges at that intersection in order to head south? And some responses to the modeling for the multiple threat and any of the other serious concerns that we've had. Is there a way that you can respond to these?
What I would suggest, I mean, if the council or the city would like us to respond to something specifically, please send that to us and we'd be happy to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I just want to say I support the motion. I want to apologize to you as people who are just employees doing your job, design, I don't know which of you are, if you're engineers, what have you, it probably is annoying for us experts to have these opinions. But despite the fact that I'm a lawyer, not a civil engineer, I feel really strongly that there's no way that this roundabout could possibly function with the entrance to the ferry terminal. And so honestly, after hearing everything we've heard, I soundly support this, and I would actually like to explore our legal options to stop it.
And I'll speak to the motion. I would have preferred it to end at all discussion. I didn't have a chance to weigh in. I would have been nice to allow my thoughts to come in before your motion. I just chair the meeting and I'm following what the council wants. And that's all I can address right now. I feel like I missed an opportunity and I just want to say that. So for that reason, I'm opposing the motion. So any other question on the motion?
I got one more question.
About the motion?
No, it's, you want us to send you our concerns. I know you have a lot of our concerns, and a lot of them weren't addressed today, even though you had a lot of the concerns. Is it possible that there is a way to build an overpass?
Not with the funding that we have from the legislature. And what I referred to earlier is it's not clear to me exactly what you want additional clarification on. I think we provided quite a bit of clarification here today. We're going through a process and we'll have a report for our pre-design process. But if there are specific things you would like us to address, we'd be happy to do that. I just need to know what they are.
Can I follow up?
Sure.
And it's not that you didn't address them. I guess you didn't provide any other option. It's like, okay, we understand your opposition, we understand your concerns, but this is the design. And there's no room for our concerns, like the people who are going to be in the holding line. Like there is no other option to turn around and get in line. You acknowledge it, but you haven't really addressed it.
And any further comment to the motion? I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. The vote is 6 yay, 1 nay for that motion move forward. Thank you. We'll move to regular business item number 5B, review and consider approval of city manager recruitment brochure. And interim city manager.
Thank you. And just to speak one more minute about the item from before, I think I heard the most concern about the ferry queuing and wanting to hear more about that. I'll take a stab with our city clerk at writing up what I think I heard the concerns were that we, as the WashDOT folks have generously offered to respond to some questions in writing. I want to make sure I've gotten everything when I send those over to them.
Deputy Mayor Hitopoulos and Councilmember Shriver.
The whereases are going to be really important in a resolution. Is that something that you feel that we're going to have enough information from this conversation about that if we're going to have a resolution? Or maybe it's something that we want to assume that we'll want to be weighing in on. I mean, maybe that's obvious, but it's going to be important.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yes, I would agree. I'm sure. I expect a significant amount of feedback. Okay, moving to the next item. This is the city manager recruitment request that we are working with our consultants on the city manager recruitment. And we have our consultant here today to guide us through a conversation about the position announcement brochure. Raftellus launched a survey about a month ago and has used a significant amount of that information to help shape the information that is in the narrative. There's also a memo in the packet that summarizes the results of the survey and provides the long response questions verbatim so that everybody can see the information from the community. Tonight, we hope that you will review, provide comments, and suggest edits. I'll turn it over to Heather Gantz from Raftellus to lead the conversation and be interested in your comments. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
Appreciate, can you all hear me okay tonight?
Great.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time this evening. I want to start this conversation by thanking the community for responding to and participating in the survey. We had almost 400 individuals participate and provide feedback that then was utilized to inform a lot of the details that you'll find in the recruitment brochure. In addition to, of course, the community feedback, our conversations with you all individually, as well as our conversations with the leadership team, all of that information contributed to the recruitment brochure that you have in front of you tonight for consideration. And again, I just want to thank the community for participating and sharing their thoughts. They will continue to inform our process as we move forward, in addition to what has already been done through this recruitment brochure. I don't know that I will spend a ton of time on the survey results. As the interim city manager indicated, the full survey memo is in your materials this evening. I am happy to answer any questions, but we did provide a great bit of detail through that survey memo. So I would like to try and focus on the recruitment brochure, if that's okay with you this evening.
Yeah, please move forward.
Great. I would like to go section by section with regards to the recruitment brochure, talk through any changes or adjustments that you would like us to make. And then ultimately, our goal tonight is to approve the recruitment brochure with any changes as discussed. We will update and make those changes and then move forward with the official posting of the position, ideally no later than Monday, but our goal is to get that done by the end of this week. So we'll start with the cover. Any questions or concerns with primarily the image that's on the front cover of this brochure?
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
I have no concerns, but if you could just bear with me, I think it might be helpful for us to just tell the whole council and the community what's a little bit more about the process for the creation of the brochure, so they know what voices were at the table. I just wanted to say that your subcommittee, your ad hoc committee, did weigh in after a full draft was created by Raffatellis. We made a lot of substantive, I think helpful, I feel, changes that you all would have appreciated. By no means is obviously this the end of the conversation we're talking now, but I want to feel both. I just want to at least say on behalf of Raffatellis and the subcommittee that we are neither taking total control of it, nor have we been remiss in working on it. So hopefully you feel pretty good about it and we're close and we're able to end it tonight, but just know that we have spent some time with it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I want to thank the other members of the, what would we call it, task force on the brochure for your good work and everything. Is it possible to put this up on the screen so the community can follow along with us on what we're talking about? Thanks very much.
Okay, so no concerns or comments on the front page. Is that correct?
Well, it kind of leads to false impressions. It's always sunny here, but that's it's good.
So just a little bit, a tiny bit of just a little bit of our thought on this. It's a photo that we've all seen before. And as I think Kate Brown did let us know that this was on the cover, I believe, of the last city manager recruiting brochure. So but it does really sum up it sums up our community fairly well. So that was why we had looked at it. So you see Seattle in the distance, you see the marina, you see both sides of the island, you see homes. And then we wanted other photos to, we were going to drill down within the document. As well as Priya, but she's there.
This is a beautiful image that showcases the community, I think, in a big aerial snapshot way, and it's a great way to grab some attention for the brochure. Okay, moving forward to page 2, this is the position section. This really articulates and highlights what the position is, what the city manager does. Any questions or concerns on the verbiage here? We'll start with the actual text, and then we'll move to the two images on the bottom of the page. I just wanted to say, as the committee, we wanted to make sure that what came out in the survey actually came out in the draft of what's in the brochure. So you see a lot of things that pertain to what was in the survey, what we were looking for.
Thank you, Councilmember Fallon Johnson. Oh, no other lights, please move forward.
Great. Next page is our priorities section. This is page 3 is a wonderful opportunity for us to indicate to the new city manager some of the important goals and priorities of the city. This is by no means solely on the city manager's shoulders, but this will be in collaboration with you, in collaboration with the community, in collaboration with staff. But it does give the city manager a good idea of some of the initiatives and efforts that they will be working in collaboration with and leading for the city.
Councilmember Land.
Thank you. Sorry, I thought we were going to look at the images on page 2 before we to page 3. If that's okay, I just wanted
of course.
Thank you. I wasn't a fan of having the Race Equity Advisory Committee called out in this particular all are welcome notice. I think it's a great, it's good thing to post. I also think that it's talked about throughout this pamphlet quite a bit about equity, inclusion, support, values, things like that. But I don't know that I love it being called out specifically as an image to the degree that it is.
Councilmember Nelson, and then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I was going to comment on the next
Okay.
page, so I'll
Hold your
defer
point
to
there.
other comments at this time.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Well, I guess I think it speaks volumes just as an image, and on some people's eyes are going over. It's a very important message. And I want to say, in the world we're living in right now and our potential candidates, it says right away, like it's kind of a this or that. You know what I mean? It's like this is certain candidates I would think might see that and they don't want to be here and we might not want them here. So that's kind of what
Councilmember Land.
My only response to that is leave the image, but leave out the committee note at the bottom, perhaps. Only in that it just feels the Race Equity Advisory Committee surrounding the city logo. It feels like it puts more.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. So that's a sign within our community.
Mhm.
So we don't need to edit the sign to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what, Councilmember Scheider, then Councilmember Land, then Councilmember Fallon Johnson.
I think that we could solve the problem by pulling back from the sign and just giving some context to the sign, because it is an actual sign with rivets and, you know, whatever attached to a pole. So if we pulled back and had a bigger shot on it, it would show that, yes, this is something that is in our community, as opposed to it being like a poster filling the frame.
Councilmember Fallon Johnson.
I guess I just want to know what the opposition is. This is a sign that the city has agreed to place on its streets. It's not a sign that is endorsing, well, it is. It's endorsing race equity. And it's saying that that's what's important to us. I don't understand the opposition. We're not, what, are you opposed to the Race Equity Committee?
Councilmember Land, respond.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. Of course, I am not opposed to the Race Equity Advisory Committee, not at all. I am looking at this as a brochure and I'm seeing that there is one committee called out specifically, and though it's a sign, I understand it's a sign, but it's the city of Bainbridge Island logo that I think is most important, that I would love to have called out more so than the committee behind it. Because we have lots of committees, and perhaps pulling back on the visual would solve the problem.
Councilmember Fallon Johnson, then Councilmember
I think
Matthews.
you're looking at it wrong. It's not just the city logo. The entire image is one image together. And what it's saying, I mean, we went through a lot to get this image, and to take away from it takes away from the whole thing. It's not calling out one committee. It's showing whoever comes here pretty much what was said before, that equity is one of our most important things. Just like we love PIA, just like we have a lot of shoreline. This is a part of Bainbridge Island. We have all agreed on that. It's not calling out a committee. It's calling out the equity.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. We all value this job and this role we have, and we take the oath of office and come here. But really, we're one of seven. You know, we each just have one vote of seven, and I don't see a majority of council members supporting removing this. So I think we all note how you feel, and we can proceed.
And I just have a follow-up. This is for the interim city manager. Just want to make sure this is accurate. This is an existing sign as presented in this brochure.
Yes. That's true. I believe there are 3 up on the island.
Thank you very much. It's already an existing image that is around the island. If this was the intent of the council, we'd have to go and remove it from the other signs as well. That would not be practical, nor would it be correct. So, was there a motion on this? Okay, no. All right. Councilmember Land?
Mayor, just to reiterate, I have no objection to the signage. I have no objection to being one of 6 other folks that are making this decision. I'm just calling out that for brochure purposes, I don't like it. And that was the question that was asked.
Very good. We're done talking here. You can continue on page 3.
Great. So we were discussing the priorities. Any questions or concerns with the content and or the image on this page?
Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, no, I had one, and it was something I heard from several residents actually, which is go to the 6th bullet point. It says, advance housing affordability and availability by championing innovative and sustainable solutions, guiding key projects, and collaborating with city council staff and community to identify equitable opportunities, secure funding, and expand diverse housing options. That's great. Stop there, right? That's really good. Wait, what I don't like is then it goes on to say, while thoughtfully, quote, navigating a community where growth, density, and environmental preservation are deeply held and often competing values. Now, what's my concern? If you look at the survey results and you look at question 2, the second most important issue was water resource security. The third was managing growth and rural character. The third was environmental stewardship. And what I heard from residents is they didn't need a city manager to, quote, navigate them. They needed a city manager to listen to them, right? And so I think just a little bit of a word change here, or even cutting out that last part, just to kind of not, because it's not about sort of pushing aside certain voices. It's about including all of them, right? Is the way I feel about it. So I think let's try to maybe use a different word here. And that's my main point. Okay.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I can think of a couple that would get rid of that and preserve, I think, all of the meaning. And that would be, I mean, I get there's a little extra meaning potentially. It could be just thoughtfully in a community where growth, blah, 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 blah. It could be in the context of a community, blah, 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 blah. So I think the simplest thing would just be while doing all these things, expanding housing, diverse, in a community where growth, density, blah, blah, blah.
Councilmember Nelson?
Oh, yeah, or, yeah, I like that, or take out the wall. I think that's what you said, expand diverse housing options thoughtfully in a community where, right?
Yeah.
Right,
That, they can
yeah.
keep it thoughtfully as well. It could also just be options and then in a community, because that kind of explains itself that there's tension. And it's not, what's changed is what you're asking for is that there's no question about judging it.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah,
Then
I
Councilmember
like
Nelson?
that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So, yeah, appreciate
Councilmember
it.
Matthews?
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you for that. We were really, really careful. We took so much care with this when we got the survey results and then working on this. And we really wanted to listen to what the community was telling us in the survey. And I think that is a really good highlight. I think the word in, we are calling in and not calling out. And we also don't want to be catfishing anyone, like on the other hand, we want them to know what they're getting into. So.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
Sorry.
No worries. Any other discussion? I think we're in agreement that this edit, which was very smartly proposed by Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, is in agreement with everybody here on the council. All right. Any other comments on page 3?
All right, our next
Okay, move
section.
on.
Yes, thank you. Our next section is the successful candidate section. This is a lot of the kind of qualities and characteristics along with some harder skills. Any questions, changes or edits to this page in text and or the wonderful photo that you see here?
Our council is studying. We may have a light come on in a moment.
Sure. With sharing of the screen, and then you all are very far away and small. I can't see the red lights, so I'm gonna rely on you to call on the individuals.
Trust me, I'm trying to be a good. Okay, so we have first Councilmember Brentwood Johnson, then Councilmember Nelson.
I guess I'm just looking at the bottom with the boat down there.
Oh, I think we're not quite on that page yet.
Page 4?
We're on the successful candidate page.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh, okay.
You're on this page.
Oh, there's 2 pages. Okay.
Are we good now? All right.
Okay.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying, and I know we're going section by section, but this is actually more of a global comment, but it kind of comes up here. So I wasn't quite sure when to put it in. So I'll say it now, I suppose. I think one of my overall, constructive criticism is I feel like when I look at the brochure itself, it's very wordy. And sometimes it feels a little unfocused. When I do read it, though, it's 100% clear to me that you guys listened, which I think is super positive because I see reflected in it the things that I said, along with things that I hear from my colleagues all the time, and along with information from the survey. But when I then switched over to looking at the survey memo, I found the key findings extraordinarily compelling. And I think the concern I might have is you may have buried the lead, right? And I feel like when I read this, commitment to ethical leadership, over 63% of respondents identified high ethical standards as the most critical trait. Respondents desire candidates with demonstrated success in long-term financial planning and protecting water security. Feedback highlighted a desire for back to basics excellence regarding roads and infrastructure. And then qualitative comments stress the importance of a leader who understands and respects the council manager form of government. I'm not sure that came through. I saw bits and pieces of it. And I'm not sure how you incorporate this feedback, but I didn't feel like those key findings came through. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I'm going to sound defensive. And of course, I want to be really clear. Although we did fulsomely discuss this, and I think we made some important changes, I do want to credit our consultants with doing a fabulous first draft, which is 90-something% here intact. So, but I guess I feel we've got that person of high integrity, the manager models ethical public service, follows proper procedures, demonstrates. So I feel like it's in here. And I also think that this top thing, the top item, which was really, I think, intuitive ultimately on behalf of our consultants. The city manager is committed to enabling a strong, inclusive city that evolves with intention and purpose. That is, I think that is who we are. I mean, that goes to all the stuff that we talk about. We talk about preserving, what it is we have that's special, whether it's, the community itself or the island, et cetera. So I don't know. I think I want to defend it as actually including a lot of PowerPoints. On the other hand, honestly, if the first sentence in this was, for example, ethical and good with their purse strings, that's not the person I want. And that concerns me. Oh yeah, I think that you can find a lot of city managers out there who are, I believe, who are ethical and who are good with their purse strings, but we want somebody who understands us as a community and wants to be part of our vision. And so I think the guts are in there, but I think that it's persuasive as to what a special community we are.
Councilmember Matthews, then Councilmember Nelson.
Thanks, Mayor. So well said, Deputy Mayor. I wish all of you could have been in the subcommittee meetings with us to hear us translating or trying to work with what's in the survey and make sure that it showed up here. I think that the professional that we're looking for knows about the council manager form of government very well. They have been a city manager before, or they're a deputy city manager. They are very familiar with that. And so some things I don't know if we needed to say that in there, they're like, that's like a, and yes, and what else do I do? So that to me was a no-brainer. I think that we were looking for a complex special unicorn who we need to be a little bit wordy. I know you're right with that, but there is a reason for this. They need to see there's certain themes that, and we even took some of the some of it out all the time, because sometimes when you write things over and over, they lose their power, it dilutes them. And so you might not see some of those repetitive survey things here over and over, but the gist is. And so I'm just going to defend us a little bit because we were very, very intentional and careful with that and respectful.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews. Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate that. And I think though, Deputy Mayor, when you say, that's not the most important thing. I think I would push back a little bit because the survey seemed to show that it was the most important thing to the public. And I think what it's actually showing is there actually is just a crisis of trust in this government. And I think that it is something that the next city manager is going to have to repair a bit. And so maybe the solution here is to add something under priorities, which is something around repairing trust within the community or something to that effect. And I'm not here to argue, and I appreciate where you're coming from, and I just want to make sure that the survey results get fully reflected in there, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Just to say one thing, first of all, along the lines of what Councilmember Matthews just said, I think it's not that I don't think that ethics and good fiscal management are not critical and essential. I think that we assume that. I assume we're not going to hire somebody who we could think is anything other than that. But I also want to say that I don't have any worries that a good city manager candidate isn't going to do his or her homework and figure out about our history of a lot of the stuff you're talking about. And I don't think it's something, I think it's good for us to call some of the tensions out and those sorts of things. But the last thing we want to do is highlight ourselves as a distrustful community with broken trust. It'll be seen, and that has actually cost us in previous attempts to find a city manager. So I wouldn't want to highlight that.
Councilmember Matthews.
Super fast. So this, the younger kids might know about, but this is almost like dating or online dating or a profile and going on a date. And you're not going to go on a date or put on your profile all of your dirty laundry, right? They know, they can research, maybe second date, obviously it's going to come up in the community roundtables and as we go further with the candidate, but we're not going to lead with our, hey, I got lots of problems. People don't trust me. Come on in. So just.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews. And I think we're of a certain age, at least the deputy mayor and I, because I don't know if swipe left is good or bad. So I don't know. But yeah. But I appreciate the comments. Any other comments on this page from the council? Councilmember Scheiderer.
I just had a really hard time finding anything to pick on. So I guess, at the very end, I might have a couple little comments and you'll know by how trivial they are that, I think this is an awesome brochure and I really appreciate all the work that's gone into it.
Yeah, let's go to community page.
Qualifications.
Oh,
is our-
qualifications. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, two sections here, the qualifications section, and then of course the inside the organization, which is just a little bit more about the city itself and the city organization. And then of course the two images here, the ferry and then inside City Hall.
Councilor Nelson?
Okay. I think this is a little bit process question. When we have the candidates, do we have a scoring rubric that we use for each one of them?
That is a part of our process that we will determine when we meet in April. We'll be discussing selection and process, and we'll discuss if we want a scoring rubric or how we want to handle that.
Okay, and I think I'll get onto something a little touchy here, which is the third paragraph in qualifications. I think when you read the first two sentences, great, but then it's followed by the city council may consider an equivalent combination of knowledge, skills, education, and experience to meet minimum qualifications. I think I want to make sure that this statement applies to all candidates and that it's not specific to any particular group, just from a legal standpoint. And I think maybe I can ask our city attorney whether he has any concerns from sort of a Washington law against discrimination or Title VII standpoint that this doesn't raise any sort of eyebrows.
Andrew?
Yes. Good evening, Andrew Snowman, City Attorney. A great question, Council Member. I think the best way to put it is we've heard this issue raised, and I will work with staff to make sure that any sort of language here as well as in the brochure complies with state law.
Okay, and then, well, and federal law, right?
And federal law.
And obviously that would go for any scoring rubric as well.
Correct.
Okay. Because I just wonder, maybe just a quick solution is to just add for any candidate or something in the last sentence there, just to make sure that any candidate, we may consider equivalent combination of knowledge, skills, education, and experience, because it's ultimately up to us, right? And that we're not trying to do anything that could potentially run afoul of state or federal law. And that's what I'm getting at. Again, entirely from the lawyer's perspective. Okay. Thank you.
I believe Councilmember Schneider and Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll speak to that same paragraph. It warmed my heart when I read that. And that's not to say that there couldn't be another phrase or sentence added. I think almost maybe we could add a statement saying that we want the broadest array of candidates to show up. And because studies have shown blah, 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 we're saying that, don't take every little bit of this as literal requirement. We will consider what you've gone through and what you have to offer in its own individual light. So that one jumped out at me in a very positive way.
Councilmember Lamb.
Yep, and I will triple down on that last paragraph as well. I like what Councilmember Schneider just proposed, kind of rearranging the wording of that last paragraph. I double checked our other employment opportunities on our website, and we don't have anything like this for any other position, just FYI. And I would hate, because of the way this is phrased, to have in looking back on the history of other leaders of this city, we've had women, we've had, there have been other folks who have not been white males who have been in positions of leadership here. I would hate for any language that people could use later to point at, to say, there's a DEI hire, and undermine their success, do the exact opposite in a way. So I do appreciate, though, Councilmember Schneider's phrasing.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I don't see a need for any reorganization of this paragraph. If counsel, as in legal counsel, has any concerns, I would defer to him in giving us advice on that. I see these as distinct statements. The first one is the sort of more just the observation about the fact that women and people of color could be less likely to apply, thinking they can't, whatever, unless they believe they can perform every function. I see it as a very broad statement already that we are most interested in finding the best candidate for the job, and that candidate may come from a less traditional background, and we consider a combination of skills. And I would say, I think this is distinct, this position. I mean, I don't know. I don't hire people at a lower level than this. The only person I'm ever involved in hiring is this person who's the leader. But I think that it is going back to the unicorn idea, et cetera. We're looking for somebody, we may not be brought the perfect candidate. I mean, it's going to be hard to find this person. And I think that's what that language says is ideally you have the 10 years of progressive responsible experience, you have these other things. But at the end of the day, we're looking for somebody really special. And so don't not apply. Good chance we're actually not going to interview you. If you don't have those things, that's the reality, but give us a chance to look at your resume. So I don't see the need to muck around anymore in that paragraph. And I'm sorry that yet again defending, but yeah.
Councilmember Nelson.
No, I was just going to say that I really like the first two sentences because what they do operationally is bring in a broad array of candidates, right? And I think that is extraordinarily positive. And all I'm asking for, and I'm very satisfied at this point, is just have the city attorney do a quick check, make sure that it doesn't raise any concerns, and then we move forward from there. And I'll leave it at that. So thank
Good
you.
point. You made a good point. Any other comments on this? I'll just add, I'm just reading this, I would never apply for this because I'm nowhere near qualified or of the high character this thing's calling for. But, you know, just as me, as a person of color, when I read studies have shown that women and people of color are less likely to apply, et cetera, that popped out of me because I never see that or rarely. And it's like you see me. And it sends a message about our community saying, wow, we see you and we're really interested in that. I think it's an incredibly positive statement forward about what we're seeking and the community we're trying to be. I do like that sentence. Any other comments on qualifications or inside the organization? Okay, we can move to the next page now, the community page. Oh, the photos, we gotta look at the photos. Sorry.
Are we skipping over inside the organization or?
Oh, well, no, they're both the same page. I assume people had done both. Okay, Councilmember Schreiber and then Councilmember Matthews.
You know what, I might be remembering this from a different section, but it seems to be somewhat pertaining to inside the organization. Yeah, I don't actually read it here, but what I'm remembering is this idea that the city manager will work across departments. And for me, it's just really, really important that we break down silos. And we really represent that we show how these different departments are working together. So I don't know how or if we need to say that in a brochure. I guess I'm just putting that out there as one of my own personal priorities. And if there's any way to beef up how a city manager is a leader of staff, I know it's somewhere. I saw it, but thank you.
Councilmember Matthews?
So I agree with that. And I think I saw that somewhere else, but it's also in the inside the organization, it mentions all the several departments. So maybe that would be a place to mention working across departments and how important that is. It could be a sentence just added to the end of that.
Any objections from the council? Any other comments on this section inside the organization? And do people have problems with the two pictures? Okay, let's move on to the community page.
Great. We've got, this is just ideally to give prospective candidates a wonderful understanding of your community. So we've taken the opportunity to highlight hopefully a variety of different things here, along with I think what is a really wonderful image of folks biking in the community. So thoughts on this section, both either in the verbiage or of course the image.
I had one.
We'll get in order. Was it Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
Yeah, I think I was.
You were first. Councilor Matthews,
Yeah.
then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilor Nelson, then Councilor Shatter. Thank you.
Oh, she's like, I don't even have. Thanks,
You got
Mayor.
the floor.
So this section, I really appreciated the comments by former Councilmember Quitsland here. And so I think a really good way to handle that would be, we could say after the first paragraph, just as the gateway to Kitsap County or something like that, or the entry, as an entry point to Kitsap County. And then say a few things about that. But yeah, I really appreciated that point.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Mine's the same, is in response also to the same comment. And so I tried to come up with something earlier while we were doing whatever else we're supposed to be doing to make it maybe easy, because I know we want this out. So if we could make an easy edit now. So my thought was maybe after, it's further down, but where it says Bainbridge Island also has many residents who commute to the greater Seattle region. We could also say something like, this doesn't have to be it, but as well as a strong connection to the, as well as a strong connection to the mainland Kitsap County to the west. That was just another place to put it. I think I would put something just that short, because I don't think we're going to be able to put a section in about the dynamic relationship with workforce, et cetera. And it's actually very complicated. But I would either give us a connection there to Kitsap County, or like you said, throw in that sort of, and I think, we're not going to accomplish what former Councilmember Quitsland was talking about really getting the understanding that part of our problem solving affordable housing is the complex relationship with workforce and back and forth. But at least it's acknowledging that we have that connection, and that feels right to do. And it feels less elitist and everything too, as we were often accused by Kitsap County of only looking east. So, yeah.
Councilor Nelson, then Councilor Scheidler.
Yeah, this, I also just wanted to acknowledge former council member Quitsland's comments. I thought they were very thoughtful, and frankly, I think he's right. It's too Seattle centric. And so, for instance, just in the first paragraph, it's okay to say, the 35-minute ferry ride from downtown Seattle. But I think when you start the next sentence as often described as Seattle's closest island gateway, that just makes us, we're just someplace next to Seattle, right? And so I would actually like to see that just deleted, so that, right? And then
That's the gateway instead.
yeah, and then adding some language around the connection to Kitsap County, because I just think that you're right. So I'll leave that there. Okay, thank you, and thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Councilor Nelson, Councilor Scheidler, then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of my very small comments. When we were sort of down in the paragraph that talks about Blodell Reserve, Bainbridge Performing Arts, I wanted to put a plug in there for listing Barn, the Bainbridge Artisans Resource Network. It feels like that is a community building thing, and the others are more performing arts, more, and they're all important, and we're proud of all of them, right? But Barn might be a little less well-known, and I think it would behoove someone doing research on us to look them up. We have the best makerspace I have ever seen. I'm proud to show it to anyone that I bring into town. I would actually like to organize a field trip of different council members to make sure that all of us have gone through and been given a tour as council members, from some of the leadership there. So that would be my request, is to make sure that this aspect of us, it's not just the fancy performance side of things, but that it's normal people getting a chance to, dive into amazing projects of art and resilience and everything.
Thank you, Councilman Scheidler. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I think we should try to come up with some language, and I was going to actually first ask Councilmember Matthews, did you have specific language about the gateway to Kitsap, like a gateway to Kitsap Peninsula?
Councilor Matthews?
So I would say we could strike island living period, and where it says often described as Seattle's closest island getaway, I would say just you can say as a gateway to Kitsap County.
Or the Kitsap Peninsula?
Or to the
Because it's
Kitsap
kind of
Peninsula, yeah. And then the rest is fine.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
Yeah, would it, just for grammar, would it could be a gateway to the Kitsap Peninsula, comma, the 24 mile, blah, blah, blah?
Yep.
We could also ask our consultants if they have any preferred language or if they do a lot of this. Does that work for you?
Councilmember Nelson, and then Councilmember Scheider.
I was just gonna say-
Councilmember Matthews, and then.
No, I was just gonna say, I like that, a gateway to Kitsap County language, just strike often described as Seattle's closest island getaway, and just put it in there, so. Thank you.
Councilmember Scheider, then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So all these suggestions are fine. It just brought to light a moment for me that somewhere, maybe not in this section, but we should really mention to our next city manager that our connections to Kitsap County and the regional government and the regional, I mean, it's really important. And I think that Blair understood that. And I saw some, sort of progress being made at elevating the importance of, our board positions and what he personally was willing to get involved in. I think that might be missing from the brochure generally. I didn't see it when I read through it, so I don't have a specific suggestion. What's that?
Wait, sorry. Deputy Mayor. Your light's on.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I thought she was still talking. I think I just wanted to put a plug for, again, it being peninsula, not counties, kind of county. This doesn't sound very good. But it could also be a gateway to the Kitsap and Olympic peninsulas. We should think about that. But on Councilmember Schneider's point, we could also add language, like I suggested at the end of the sentence about Bainbridge Island has many residents who commute to the greater Seattle region. We could add something like, as well as a strong connection to mainland Kitsap County to the west, or something similar.
I just would, I do think that it is important, as per John Klitzland, that we mention Kitsap County. And certainly the rest of the peninsula as well, right? I'm not saying not to mention that, but that tends to feel more touristy and regional versus we are part of Kitsap County. It is, it is us, we're them, and we want to create stronger connections to Kitsap County.
Yeah.
I just want to put that plug in there.
Any other comments? Yeah, I have on 1, 2, 3, paragraph 4, next to last sentence, the community benefits from a stable economy supported by maritime industry, small business, tourism, and professional services. That's true, but we also have a lot of creation here. We have like the world's greatest distillery, and we're creating the world's best fishing rods. I mean, we have manufacturing, there's someone that does the yarn on this island. Can you believe it? So, I mean, we have businesses that are actually creating product that draw attention to our community. So somehow, and the chamber's giving me no kickback on this, but I think that there should be some measure of that because we need more of that, and we need more economic diversity. So I'll let you wordsmiths come up with that, but I think that something along that line, showing that we're not just, as it says, a stable economy supported by maritime industries. Yeah, but it has to be, there's something, it's a little bit more than that, in my opinion. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Well, you better come up with a really good adjective for manufacturing before it goes in here, because the last thing that we're asking for is manufacturing. So is it craft scale manufacturing? I mean, it's small. I mean, it's something special manufacturing.
Innovative.
Councilor Matthews.
So I get where you're coming from, Deputy Mayor, and I appreciate what you're saying, Mayor, especially Mayor. So folks aren't thinking we have, giant factories here. What about small scale innovate, or because Sage is not industry leading visionary,
Small business.
yeah, small businesses. Some that they can work
Very
with,
nice.
but yeah. But really these are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Matthews. Never thought of yarn as visionary, but I appreciate that. I think it works. All right. Any other comments on the category of the community? Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
We're about to hopefully approve this. So sadly, we have to, that's why we have to be careful about wordsmithing, because we have to do the wordsmithing.
Yeah.
So what is being added? I mean, this small scale manufacturing. I don't
No,
think,
no, no.
I don't think it's worth adding. I think the fact that it has business in it is, small business is enough myself.
Mhm. How about world class?
Small,
Like
you
small
can
scale
call out
world-
those businesses, so you
Yeah.
could say, so that we're not, so that they can look them up. So say world-class industry leaders like Sage.
Bainbridge
Holt,
Distillery.
you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
Bainbridge, so that we're not thinking of other giant
We
factories.
do call out, sorry, I'm just jumping in.
Yeah.
I usually, we'll get to you, Councilman Scheider, but we call out other institutions, and Councilman Scheider asked for a call out of the Bainbridge Artisan Resource Network. So Councilman Matthews, that's a point well taken. So how would we say that? And internationally recognized or award-winning businesses, something like that, because they have been, and it's something we should be proud of because it's a Bainbridge thing. Councilor Scheider.
Internationally recognized small manufacturing.
No.
I think is appropriate. I mean, I think manufacturing shouldn't be a dirty word. It is, and I think it would be good to leave little breadcrumbs about what we're talking about, you know, putting Sage in there. And what's the other one? Is it the rope making company? What's the, shoot. Anyway, giving two examples versus just one might be a little easier, but
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Scheider. I don't know distilleries or breweries or wineries or manufacturers, but they do make something. Yeah, they're producing
Producers.
something. Well, where are we on this? Councilmember Matthews.
So I think, so the island is home to numerous wineries, tasting rooms, farm stands, and locally owned shops and restaurants that contribute to a lively downtown. We also have a industrial area that houses innovative small manufacturing facility, because that's talking about the downtown. So we can mention, I work in Day Road, so in Industrial Park, and there are so many manufacturing businesses around me that are creating and making industry leading things right here on Bainbridge Island.
So we've got to decide on what language here. Are we
Yeah.
going to get that right here tonight? Councilor Matthews. Oh,
No
Councilmember Land. Sorry.
Well, my friends at ChatGPT have given quite a few possibilities, and they might capture what you all are trying to say succinctly. A proud hub of small-scale industry where locally owned manufacturers have earned international recognition for their thing. For their thing. This community is characterized by a dynamic base of small-scale enterprise whose manufacturing capabilities have achieved international distinction. Want more? I got more.
Oh, wow.
Which one?
Yeah, read that first one. Oh, Councilmember Land,
I'm shortening it. Just one moment,
okay,
please.
certainly. Councilman Scheider, while
This is more of
Len is wordsmithing.
a process point. I won't speak for everyone else, but I think that we have had some fun here with a lot of wordsmithing and giving up ideas. I would be comfortable, saying, yes, I approve of this, given some tweaks, and then I'm not going to go back and criticize the critiques, because it really is good the way it is right now. And I'm happy with it, and I'll be happy with the changes that get made.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
I agree. I don't think we have a choice. I will say that where that was going was getting so wordy that I really felt a little imbalanced in favor of manufacturing. And I think it's a really sensitive issue in the community. And I think that maybe the word, like, I was trying to look up whether boutique manufacturing is anything. It does seem to have a definition where it's in the few hundred, like no more than a few hundred employees. I mean, that's a lot. And specialized, artisanal, whatever. I don't know. I would go with boutique manufacturing on that one and not try to create a whole new sentence all about our industrial sector.
Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
I want to make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the city manager recruitment brochure as amended.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion to approve the city manager recruitment brochure as amended, moved by Councilmember Franklin Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Matthews. Okay, discussion. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I think we need to amend that with some detail about what we are authorizing the Raffatellis to fine tune. And I think that's what that was incorporating in a connection to Kitsap County and something along the lines of boutique manufacturing to explain our economy.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, I think the interim city manager, are you taking notes of the things? I think she has them all. So when I say as amended, I mean, as we've all discussed and it's been being tracked.
Yeah. Councilmember Nelson, then Councilmember Lamb.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna make a very similar motion to you. I was just gonna say incorporating and integrating the feedback provided during this session as opposed to as amended, because I thought that, and then we're kind of giving them the discretion to kind of take, the interim city managers list and kind of everything that we put together. Not that yours doesn't work, but
To point, would the maker of motion accept a friendly amendment of that discussion?
I do.
Okay, then I moved to.
Well, you can't move, you can, she already accepted your amendment. We can.
Okay, fair enough.
You want to do it, but it was Councilmember Lant, then Matthews. Councilmember Lant, and then Councilmember Matthews.
Just a quick question, that if we want to reach out with anything for the interim city manager to noodle on, that's good? Yeah. Okay.
Would you repeat that, please, Councilmember Lant?
That was a question regarding the very last conversation we were having about amendments and having the interim city manager put together. She's putting this all together to make some amendments so that we can approve this tonight, correct? I mean, she will.
Councilmember Matthews and Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So I just wanted to say what a pleasure it's been to serve on this subcommittee with Councilmember Franklin Johnson and Deputy Mayor, and as well as with Interim City Manager and Kate Brown and all of the hard work that went into this, and especially what a good choice. I wasn't part of that choice, but what a really great choice Raffatellis was. So thank you, Heather and Sarah. We landed on the right partners in this. I wish the community could see how much care and consideration we've put into this to get to this point so far, as well as how important their voices were to us as we went throughout this process. So I really can't wait to get this brochure out into the world and to get some candidates. And so I also just wanted to say that how proud I am of this body. We've been having some really difficult sort of conversations lately, and the way that we've gone through them is, I think, really has impressed me. And I am just really blown away by you, Deputy Manager, and really, really surprised more and more in a really great way of some of things that I have really warmed my heart. So it's just really great to serve with you all.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Lamb.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just actually responding to Councilmember Land, and if she was asking if we could like trickle in more comments, and I would think no. I would think that because we're here now and we're all saying these are minor things that we feel like we could give space on, but you might not have been saying that.
Councilmember Lamb.
Yeah, just to clarify, I thought we were still wordsmithing that last section. And so that's why I was, as the motion to approve the pamphlet as amended was going through, I just wanted clarification about who was going to be massaging some of those, that last, some of those statements, especially that last one. But it doesn't seem to be a big deal.
Councilmember Nelson, then Deputy Mayor Hightower.
Yeah, obviously I'm going to support this, and I just want to commend my colleagues for being such a world-class body and just the way that we're dealing with difficult conversations in a very, respectful and upright way. I just think we're showing the world how to disagree without being disagreeable at times. And I just want to commend my colleagues, and that's it. So thank you.
You've checks in the mail. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I just wonder if we could check in with Heather about a reminder of what the date is that they wanted to get this released. And is there time, for example, for the recruitment committee to have like a 15-minute check-in or something on Thursday about whatever this draft looks like, if the council cares? And if not, we're just going to assume that, that Heather and Sarah will work on this. But could you let us know what your deadline was for getting this out?
Yeah, our goal is to be in the market with ads no later than Monday of next week. So it won't take long to make these text changes once we have all of them. I've been taking notes as well. So I assume that we'll have the text information tomorrow. We'll make those updates in 24 hours. So I think as long as we've got the text updates tomorrow by the end of the day and can confirm on them, we could meet on Thursday morning in our normal scheduled time as a committee just to reiterate and reconfirm the changes as discussed tonight.
Deputy Mayor Hightower.
And still have time to meet our original timeline.
It may feel excessive, but to me, doing that and having a 15-minute hold there, just so that everyone here knows that the final draft was given a nod by the subcommittee, which might be a good idea.
I think it's a smart move. Any other comments? And the understanding is, you three, you're all together here to my right. These three wonderful colleagues here. You've done extraordinary work, and I think you have our trust that you've heard our discussion, you'll get our tone, and because we don't need to have a quorum, we don't need to do this whole thing again. So I believe that we do have faith in our current groups. That's our consensus feeling here. Very good. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That vote is 6-0. The chair votes aye, 7-0. So let's move forward on this thing. All right.
Oh, we have one more page.
Oh, we did? No, the last?
The last page with
For
compensation and benefits, how to apply, and questions?
That, I just assumed that, you have our address and phone number, right? So that's really pretty straightforward.
Any questions on this page? These are kind of the nuts and bolts. There'll be a link of how to apply. There is an ideal date to apply by. There is ways to contact me. There is a way to contact my colleague Kelsey, who will support any accommodations that may be needed by candidates through the application and subsequent interview process. So this is all kind of standard normal information on this back page.
All right. Any other comments? Interim city manager.
Okay, so just to wrap up real quick here at the end, thanks for indulging me with the last page. I heard basically 4
sort of areas that you wanted us to look at, a very small text edit in the priorities section. Consider some additional language in conjunction with our city attorney in the qualifications section. I heard a comment about in the inside organization section about adding something about breaking down silos or otherwise indicating that it's important to work across departments. And then in the community section to add a mention of Kitsap County, highlight that importance. Consider adding barn, and then the language about a creative economy or boutique manufacturing, or one of the ChatGPT generated suggestions. And those are the ones that I noted.
Those are also the ones I noted as well.
So if I missed one, please raise your hand now so that we'll have that, and then I will work to schedule an additional meeting for us on Thursday morning.
Thank you, Mr. Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I did also have a comment about not burying the lead and around the four key findings, but I kind of think I was vetoed. So I kind of think I'll just let that one lay. So, okay, thank you.
That was a good read. Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. All right, so let's move on to council announcements. Council, please. Councilmember Matthews, then Councilmember Nelson.
So let's see, I actually wrote them down because I always forget them. Okay, so Sunday, Councilmember Lant and I attended the Bainbridge Environmental Conference at Islandwood, which was on sea level rise. And so as a council, we're going to be soon working on the shoreline management or master plan, and sea level rise will figure greatly into our work. So it would be great to familiarize ourselves with City of Bainbridge Islands' sea level rise, vulnerability and risk assessment from 2024. And it was a really great event. And then Mayor Milwaukee, council members Nelson and Lant and I attended the Remember Me event yesterday. I'll let Mayor speak about that. But it was really poignant. It was actually indoors at BPA, and it was the first time I can remember it being indoors, which allowed us to have a real visual presentation and see photos that I've never seen before, including one of a dog. And so we all know how we feel about dogs. This was a family whose dog jumped into the truck with them and did not want to get out. They finally managed to get the dog out of the truck. The family obviously left to go to be interred, and the dog staying with folks did not eat and ended up dying fairly recently after. So that just hit home with me. I think his name was King. And then today we wrapped up our LTAC deliberations. Another really, really great group convened, and we did very good work. And our recommendations should be on the next business meeting agenda. And we came to consensus with care and respect, I think, for the wonderful organizations that call this community home. And Planning Commission met last Thursday, and they unanimously adopted the island-wide mobility plan. They moved forward the transportation elements and the capital facilities elements. And they conveyed that the capacity analysis without their changes, planning conveyed that the capacity analysis without their changes didn't generate enough units and apologized for miscommunication. There was frustration from the Planning Commission members and conversations about what to do going forward based on council direction. And so this isn't committee reports meeting. That would be the next meeting, which falls before their meeting. So I would ask if anyone has time to watch their meeting. And then I have a specific question from Commissioner Blossom. And I was just going to play her question so you can all hear it and then think about it this week.
Okay,
It would be, is the council looking to satisfy the House Bill 1220 requirements simply through providing the capacity of unit typology, or having some kind of assurance that the units built achieve some level of affordability?
Okay. Can you all think about that before we start? Okay. Oops. Okay, let's turn it down. Okay, so that to me was very clear, very well said. So if we can just think about that as we're thinking about, basically what she means is we have that capacity analysis that right now does not have any you know, they don't have any stipulations of affordability. Is that something as a council that is important to us? And based on things like our council priorities, I would think that's a yes. So just something, think amongst yourselves. And then it was just as usual, the Planning Commission doing great work, and they are on their way towards completing the comprehensive plan and handing it off to us. And the key to economic luncheon is Thursday at the casino. Friday is our 3x3 with Polsvo here at City Hall. And then Councilmember Nelson and I have our coffee this Saturday at 11:30 at the marketplace. And I know many community members will, and several of us will also be celebrating the life of Melanie Keenan after that.
Okay, it was Councilmember Nelson, and I didn't follow the light progression. So who was after Councilmember Nelson?
Sure.
I'll just work from the end. Councilmember Scheider and then Councilmember Lant, and not that I'm putting you there, Councilmember Patla Johnson, then Deputy Mayor Sitopoulos.
All right.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Nelson was first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. So yes, first attending the Remember Me at BPA yesterday. That was very compelling and inspiring. And I think one thing that really struck me more than anything else was just the sheer number of individuals who had been interned who went on to serve in the military. And it just goes to show you that these were patriots. And so there's something about that that really struck me. As Councilmember Matthews noted, we had the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee meeting today. We were scheduled for 2 hours and we just efficiently did it in about an hour and 15 minutes. And it was so collegial and so consensus based. It was just really incredible. I didn't really have a vote as a non-voting member, but you know what, we were all on the same page. So extremely positive. It's good to get that work done. And that'll be coming before council. I had missed last week, so I can briefly touch. I'm sure you heard about it, that we had the steering committee last week. And what came up at it was the issue that Councilmember Matthews is pointing out, which was that it came to light that in the land capacity analysis, staff had taken it upon themselves to increase the base floor area ratio, so the base density in the ferry and high school road zones or high school zones by I think it was 2 and 3 times respectively. And I think I kind of had a mini freak out, and I think Deputy Mayor was disappointed, and I know Chair Blossom was disappointed, and I think Commissioner Schwab was also disappointed, and I think we were all a little surprised by that. The Planning Commission had not ever recommended an increase in base FAR, and I think it's a little frustrating too, because the consultant spent so much time on the land capacity analysis. It would have been good to have the proper inputs going into that. So I think there's a little bit of a process failure there. And it was the decision of the steering committee to have the Planning Commission take up this issue, which they did. And I'm to understand that's also going to come back to council per Deputy Mayor's request. Just putting that out there. And then I think that's all that I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Councilmember Scheider, then Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm very excited to be setting out tomorrow morning, driving to Wenatchee for a couple days of the Bike, Walk, and Roll conference. And it's more than 2 days because we've got bunches of stuff happening tomorrow night. Hannah Betchert is going to be going as well. So she and I have not talked about it. We're, well, I'm sure we'll bump into each other and do lots of chatting, but she's going for her reasons. I'm going for mine. I'm just really excited that we'll both be there and have our own experiences of what it was, because the last time I went, I was just blown away by the high level of participants and speakers, electeds at the state level, planning directors at the municipal level, just unbelievable. So anyway, hopefully I will have some good reports, and maybe Hannah can have her own reports when we're back. Thank you.
Councilmember Lent and Councilmember Fratellin Johnson.
All right, thank you. Well, you all know what I've been doing because everyone's already told you what I've been doing. I've been doing it with them. The one thing that I'll add is that I did attend the Solarize Bainbridge workshop that was here earlier this week. It's one of 3 workshops that will be held, and what this is, it's part of a Bainbridge Island campaign. It's a free public workshop that is educating residents about solar technology, the financing options and installation process. It was very well attended, and I'm looking forward to hearing lots more about the success of this program.
Councilor Fratellin Johnson, then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Oh, so I attended the first meeting of the Whisper Executive Committee.
That's an acronym for?
I'm getting ready to tell you. I think I just like saying Whisper. And I don't even know if they call it that, but I do. It's the West Sound Partnership for Ecosystem Recovery, okay? And it drives Puget Sound Recovery as both a salmon recovery lead entity and a local integrating organization, which is a LIO. So we actually guide initiatives that will provide policy oversight, direction, and removing barriers. We have grants that we receive, money that we receive, and we decide on projects to be done. Our 2026 work plan priorities include salmon habitat investments, floodplains, ecosystem coordination board, and operating guidelines. But I think what's most important is we're going to be hosting the ECB. You know what that is, Clarence?
Please enlighten me.
It's the Ecosystem Coordination Board. Okay, and they're coming November. And so we're trying to determine where they're going to stay, what type of success projects can we show them. To put this in some terms for Bainbridge, I think last year, Bainbridge had the Smith bulkhead removal project that was not funded. So I'm hoping that if we have any projects that we can try to get those funded. Yeah. So yeah, it's my first meeting. I think I'm enjoying it because it's all about making sure that the waterways are protected. So I like that.
Thank you, Councilman. Sounds fascinating. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I'm actually just going to ask a clarifying question of Councilmember Matthews about what she was referring to as far as where we're targeting. We're going to be thinking about the question you asked. Is that coming back to us on an agenda as a communication, or how's that being?
Councilor Matthews.
So, thanks, Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Mayor. So they had not put it as a communication. I had asked them what would be a question if they could ask council it was wrapping up the conversation of almost ways to mitigate what had happened with the capacity analysis. So to make sure that it just wasn't market rate capacity analysis going forward, how they are asking how council wants them to proceed.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, and I know we're going a little astray from the
Sorry.
agenda item, but we have very few bites at any
Yeah.
of the apple of communicating as a body, and this is really important and time sensitive. And so I guess I would hope that we could pull that into what was just referred to by Councilmember Nelson about it coming back to our agenda, what we want to do about what happened to the analysis, and that would include answering that question. And so just making sure that that actually is going to come back to us.
Councilor Matthews.
Yes, that seemed to be what they were thinking of going forward.
And may I
Marilyn?
chime in also because I spoke with Chair Blossom as well. And at the end of that planning commission meeting, their intent was to forward written communication to us with specific request asking us for direction. What caught them off guard is that we're having the 5th week in March and they didn't expect this date to happen. So this is why this feels like a little bit on the fly, but they are looking for direction about how council wants to respond to checking the box or actually putting in, allowing the planning commission to go forward with a program that would allow for incentivized or more affordable housing.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I just have sort of a point of information, which is, can I clarify, and this is to the deputy mayor, you did request an agenda item for this body to take this up, correct?
Deputy Mayor Hotopoulos.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that I don't feel pigeonholed or hemmed in or anything by the request by the commission. That's their request. It's a piece of that. It's our right as a body here to decide what we want to do about what happened. And within that, the commission is kind of stuck in operating and what happened. And so minimally, we need to let them know what we feel about that policy question, but we also need to discuss how we want to deal with where we are procedurally.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and I'm in complete agreement with you. Okay, thank you.
Any other council announcements? Well, I've got a few, so just bear with me. First of all, Councilors Matthews, Nelson, and Lant, I believe you were the three coming to the 84th anniversary of this event. The reason why it is held for the first time inside of a building and not at the site, of which you want to walk in those footsteps of history, is that the visitor center is being built, and it's very exciting to see it. And just as a personal thing, I've been working on this for 25 years, and I've never been a parent, so I feel like I'm watching this baby growing. It's just a really amazing thing for me. And just to a couple of your points, I've been talking about this story, as you know, for 20 plus years. It was my thing for a while, as a presentation and keynoting conferences and such. It's Let It Not Happen Again, Lessons from the Japanese American Exclusion. And it's thanks to COVID, it is now in memorial, taped and recorded. And the story about the Moji's dog and King was, I always mentioned that. And I'm glad you mentioned the point about, we had 276 Japanese Americans on this island. And when they asked for them to serve, 68 served, 66 men, 2 women. Essentially everyone who was eligible who did. And I can go into a whole history of the most decorated unit, the 442nd, of which we had. But this island has a very proud history of that. And the segue to that, on Sunday, there was a preview of a Cascade PBS series called Our 1000 Days. And it features Lily Kinomoto Kodama in this very strong, and it's a 5-part series. I saw the first 3 segments, and it's extraordinarily done. And what is interesting about it, they used Lily's family when she was a little girl, but they animated her and her family, almost anime kinda. And there were 3 lovely voices of each of those characters. And the mother was played by Shannon Dowling, who was a local artist here and an actress. And she had to compete for it. And she ended up being, she's a Bainbridge Islander, she's Japanese partly. The serendipity of this is pretty amazing. And along with that, I forget the name of the book, but the Japanese American National Museum has been working for years and has developed a gigantic book that's this big of all 125,000 names, every single one of the people who are exiled. And they laid it because how do you do this? You do it by camp, they just did it by age. So the oldest people are first and you work your way back. And the names are this big. And so I was lucky to be with Lily Kinomoto Kodama and join her because I'm not from Bainbridge. And they put a little tiny dot stamp by the name. It's an extraordinary, and it puts it in perspective. The book is really large and the names are really small. And so that's a lot of bodies to look at. And so that was on Sunday, and I ran over to go to the Island Treasures Award, where our first poet laureate, Michelle Bombardier, was selected as an Island Treasure, and the curator of the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art, Greg Robinson, was selected as well. Also, anybody else going to the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance? I mean, you mentioned that. Councilmember Lant? Okay, well, it's Friday, right? Thursday. Thank you, I asked. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, and one final thing. And Christine, if you had them available, we had this, I got a bit of it's kind of exciting news, a letter. And this is from the State Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. And you might recognize this building, especially you, Councilmember Matthews, right across the street. The Hall Brothers Marine Railway and Shipbuilding Company house is now being nominated to be on the state and National Register of Historic Places by the Washington State Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. And so that meeting's coming up soon. And then they'll make a recommendation. It is a meeting tomorrow on Zoom. I want to go and watch it. If anyone want to watch it with me, that's fine. I'll give you the link. And it's going to be pretty interesting to see that structure be now part of a national registry. And that's a big deal, right? And any other comments? All right, seeing none, call this meeting adjourned.